When Wiley says make it hot, we make it hot. That's what we do
That's
around
right.
here.
Let's
Yeah,
be
we
hot.
do.
Jay,
Yeah.
thanks for lurking, brother. Got the anti-paladin high little graphic there. I like that.
Nice.
Lord Gazumba. Let's give Jay a shout out, shall we? Gazumba. Jay, look at that. Like magic. Like internet magic.
Damn, son.
Woo, we're gonna play D&D really soon. I love the look of that scene that you created, Dave.
That's pretty
Nice.
sweet, huh?
We're actually gonna be there shortly. Probably today. I've decided that's the Piney Crag Outpost.
Oh,
Beautiful.
So it's like art imitating life, creating narrative wrapped in art. Full circle nerdliness.
It doesn't get any nerdier than that, my friend. Is this session 3 of this new campaign?
I think so.
Dang. That's
It looks
awesome.
like it could be a racetrack.
Yep. It really
Chariot.
does.
Chariot races or something.
Okay. Ooh, there's a subscription. Thank you, Dave, for doing that. For not only subscribing but producing. Should
Did
we
I
go ahead
subscribe?
and play D&D? You did
Oh, that was-
subscribe.
I'm a
Or Guild
subscriber.
Superior subscribe.
Guild
Oh.
Superior did. Look at that. 25
Yeah.
months, baby.
Ooh.
WikiVA's got me by 13
It's,
months, though, you
So does
rascal.
WikiVA. He
Hey,
must
we
be
got us a hype train going here, friends. How about
Hey.
that? That's a nice way to kick off the old
crazy.
We're having fun now.
Streamalicious. Yeah, I'm gonna roll some D20s. Get the soundtrack of D&D rolling here. Should we start? You guys ready to start?
I think so, man.
I think the masses are forming in the hall in the auditorium.
All right, here we go. We're
Think
going to
I'm
your
ready.
beautiful face, Scott, in 3, 2,
Oh,
Four
I'm sorry.
people.
1.
Hey, welcome, friends. We're gonna do some D&D for you. I'm Wiley Hobbit, Scott on Earth, but Wiley Hobbit out here on the internets, and we are absolutely excited to be together and playing D&D. As you can see from the overlay, there's a oh, not yet. It's just me. Wow, I feel so powerful. It's just me. You'll be seeing soon that we're missing a player. So Carl could not be with us today. So we will, in fact, be
Carl!
terminating his character because that's the policy here on the Wiley Hobbit channel. Is, if you can't come to the table, we kill your shit. And then you start over at first level. So not really. That's not true. But welcome. We're going to play some D&D, and I'm going to give you a little recap, and then we'll kind of zoom out to the full group so you could see the lovely faces of my friends. Which, by the way, D&D is nice that way because you have D&D and you don't have to pay people to hang out with you, as long as you GM for them, and you don't even have to be that good, clearly. So nice to have D&D friends, and you'll see them in a minute. So we're playing 5th edition. All of our characters, I believe, are level 11, and we're on our way into the G1 against the Giants, Steading of the Hill Giant Chief. So we're kind of in the adventure hook phase, leading ourselves in that direction. So there will be giants and tall people and such. And right now our party is based out of Headwater, which is a small settlement down in the very southern reaches of Sterich. If you have a map of Greyhawk handy, and we are investigating, our party is investigating some concerns. There have been rumors of the activity of giant kind. You kind of see the hook there. And they're on their way to investigate 2 particular sites. One is the Feanor family farm. There was some sort of awful event that occurred there that involved murder and destruction and things. And so the party is going up there, accompanied by the local commander of the militia there in Headwater, Commander Tanwall, a diminutive yet fierce gnome lacking an eye. At least that can only be assumed by the deep scar covered up by the eye patch. She rides on this magnificent, huge white wolf, nicknamed Scar. And she's accompanying them for security's sake, for interest and curiosity, but also as a matter of business. This investigation of the farm, and then they intend to proceed onward to the Piney Crag outpost. All of this located southeast of headwater in the foothills of the Jotun's mountain range. And lore and legend has it that long, long ago, giants strode freely amidst the peaks and the canyons and the valleys of the foothills and the Jotuns and even the Crystal Mist Mountains nearby. And it sounds as if legend is resurfacing somehow, because some of the evidence left behind at the Feanor site would lead people to believe that perhaps giants were involved. Our party will find that out, hopefully, if they survive long enough to get there. On the road, they're about a day and a half out of Headwater, and they, oddly enough, as they made camp for the evening, they camped not too terribly far away from a group of what turned out to be dire trolls, and had a bit of a tussle, little encounter there. And so we're going to pick up our story following the demise of the 4 dire trolls, nasty things. Party came through, I won't say unscathed. I'll let them tell you about it, but let's go ahead and bring our friends to the stream. Producer Dave, work your magic, push your levers and your buttons. There he is. And again, we have some really fantabulous artwork, courtesy of our friends at that place that makes the minis. What's that called again? Hero Forge? Yeah,
Yes,
so you
sir.
could see Carnage's character. I'm not a wizard. deep running inside joke there. And Carl wasn't able to join us because, frankly, he's just not as committed to the game as we are. If I'm being honest, don't tell him I said that, but yeah. So there's Dave and Chris and Doc Shoulder, Bob. So let's go around the horn here, and I'm going to ask you guys to each do 2 things. One, introduce your character and yourself. Whatever you care to say or not say is fine with me. But also maybe just give your reaction, your character's reaction to the start of things, as we're now entering. I believe this is our 3rd or 4th session into the second secret of the Flanaess. And we'll start with, we'll go right across from right to left. Oh, now we're switching. We'll go bottom right corner. Ming Darkstar, played by DM Dave, and also Dave doing the production duties. So take it away, Dave.
Hi. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. Glad to be here. My name is Dave. You can usually find me playing games with folks over on the Guild Superior Twitch channel. And let's see, what do we have going on over there? We're back on our Here's a Greyhawk. We've got a Greyhawk game on Tuesday nights over there, so come on over and check that out. Doc and I are actually collaborating on a little bit of a Shadow Dark RPG Discord-based game that won't be streamed, but will be more of a community-based game. So that's going to be kicking off here in December. Lots happening and lots coming in the new year. And I get the pleasure not only of producing games over there, but I get to produce this game for my good friend Wiley Hobbit. So glad to be here.
Thanks for doing that, man. How does
Hey, my
Ming feel
pleasure.
about things so far, buddy?
Ming got his ass kicked quite a bit actually in the last session. I was down to 12 hit points and did not expect that our first combat encounter would be a near TPK. But that's the way that I guess we're gonna roll. So now that that is understood, the gloves are coming off.
Ah, nice. Gloves are
Yeah,
coming off.
no more
Good.
messing around, pal.
That's what it was. You shouldn't have kept your gloves on so damn long that
Yeah,
last encounter. Yeah.
yeah, the gloves came off. So, anyways,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was a little bit of a like, oh, we
yeah,
are
it
playing
really it was
D&D
a wake
here.
up call
Yeah.
for sure. Yep.
Nice. Yeah. Well, middle of the night, dire trolls, you can't be too careful with that.
Yeah, I mean that
So
was our own damn fault.
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. And again, thank you very much for producing. It is, I feel like the weight of the world has been removed. A little more free to just kind of DM and interact with players and
Hell yeah.
chatters. Let's talk just above you now. Wiki VA, Chris, what's going on, bud?
Hey, everybody. I'm Chris, WikiVA on Discord and Twitch. If you want to see me play D&D online, you have to come here because that's the only place you can see it online.
And you should,
And
frankly.
and you should. So I play Elith von Harias, who is a wizardy, roguey guy. In answer to your question, I think Elith was curious about what kind of companions he's hooked up with, so he was interested in sort of seeing what he's got and what he's sort of joined up with, and I would say he's probably a little concerned right about now. So hopefully we can do something that alleviates that concern as we move forward. Although I doubt it.
The level of concern is high, and we're only
Yeah,
3 or 4 episodes in, so that's
yeah,
I feel like doing a good job here. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
nice. All right, hey Wilson, there's 2 R's in Carnage, by the way. All right, Doc Shoulder, Bob, Bull Mall, what's up, my man?
Thanks for again running the game. Great to be here. Dave mentioned that we're going to start a little something on doing Shadow Dark, which should be a little fun 1E-ish type stuff. So we got that going on, and then obviously this game, and then I think Phantom might be starting something too, and back on his channel. So all that stuff should be fun and a lot of good stuff. I am playing Bull Mole, who is a Goliath fighter wizard, and he hails from the Crystal Mist Mountain, close to where Headwater is. And his kind of backstory is that he has lived there for a long time, and his tribe of Goliaths typically will interact with the humans down in Headwater and trade with them. They'll trade their goods and back and forth. And there's been rumblings that there is problems with the humans, and he has been sent down by his tribe to be able to sort these out so that hopefully he'll be able to preserve those relationships with the humans. There's also a known conflict between Goliaths and giants. So there's that contentious relationship as well. And there's some understanding that maybe that's what's causing the problem. So he is down and found this group of other adventurers to be able to hopefully sort this out for the humans. And what's his take on this so far? I think he, to tell you the truth, a bull is finding this is kind of what he expected. Honestly, I think at this point he knew that there was going to be problems, and he running into the last encounter that they had doesn't really surprise him. But he's going to be a little bit more cautious, I think, at this point, understanding who his other companions are, and maybe what their best skill sets are to be able to get them where they need to. He's also maybe a little bit worried about at least one of his companions with regards to what his motives are. And it's pretty clear what his meaning Bull knows what he is there to do, but he's a little suspicious with regards to potentially what maybe some of, or at least one of his companions' motives are.
Dave is always a sketchy character player. You can never.
Oh, Chris,
Yeah, that's
you know
right.
who I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah. So the drama begins. It didn't take long to get concern and suspicion. I love it. I love it. Man, I love D&D. It is good to see you all. And this is the official Wily Hobbit holiday edition, so I will be drinking from a festive mug.
Happy holidays.
Courtesy
Yeah.
of Mrs. Hobbit. She's festooned Bag End, not my space as you can see behind me, but everything else in Bag End is festooned and bedazzled with Yuletide cheer, which is lovely. But thankfully, I have my own little sanctuary here that is, aside from the festive mug, free from such festoonments. Okay, and I do want to say on behalf of Carl, who's not here to defend himself, that he's playing I'm not a Wizard, a Circle of Spores druid, who's really fun, just like his little message there in Streamlabs. Not only is the druid fun, but Carl's fun, and we will miss him. And I do actually have a policy about players missing games, and it is that I refuse to kill their characters off. Like, just not going to let that happen because that's just not cool. So I was only joshing earlier. Okay, so yeah, and I think the only other piece of business I have is that we typically play once per month. I wouldn't say we're on a monthly cadence in that we play, 1 month between games, but once every month we try to convene this group to have some D&D and man, we just have a good time. So we've decided we want to try to chew through against the Giants, and then if we're all still talking to one another, maybe dive into the Q series and see like what's behind all these shenanigans. So yeah, let's do stuff. So it is I did drop a link to the map that we're using. We're using the 576 map because we're playing in the year 583, I believe. Let me get my OneNote back up here. I got a couple windows cooking. Yeah, so it's actually 22 Ready Reet is the month. The year is 583 CY. And the day of the week is Star Day. It's evening time. It's actually nighttime. The group, I don't recall who was on first watch, but the group was jarred awake by the noises and attack of a group of dire trolls. Everyone did manage to survive, some more so than others. And our curtain pulls back on a kind of a grisly scene as the combat sort of made its way back in the direction of the dire troll encampment. They were kind of holed up in a kind of a stony grotto. This terrain here, as far as vegetation, it's kind of dry and brambly, with the exception of the occasional small copse of piney, evergreeny type trees. There's not a lot of deciduous tree growth. There's no real forests to speak of in Sterich. And so it's rocky and canyony. We're getting into the southwestern edge of the Jotuns mountain range there that borders Sterich. And the dire trolls had built themselves a fire, more for warmth than for cooking. And so what you have, the scene before you, is four deceased dire trolls. And these things are nasty. Trolls in and of themselves are nasty. Bony, tall, sinewy, skinny. Dire trolls, picture some horrible necromantic, ritual gone wrong. In fact, I think probably Bull, you probably know a bit about these things, don't you? Would you care to maybe we'll start with you and whatever you care to say about this situation as you all stand around looking at one another, looking at the carnage in front of you as you see the corpses, and also you notice there are parts of trolls, regular trolls, scattered here and there that look to have been perhaps eaten, and in fact, a full troll body bound face down against one of the rocks.
Yeah, so Bull is clearly he's still kind of processing what just happened, because they, obviously this was, I think in his mind, maybe went a little bit of a different direction than he thought that this was going to take. And he is kind of sitting. He's in right now. He's resting to try to kind of get his thoughts together. But he's looked around and he looks at the weapons that are being used there and the things that are potentially that the trolls had available for him, and had available for them to be able to use. And he's concerned that maybe that this might be not necessarily just the trolls, that there's something more to it than just the trolls themselves. And so he is it kind of goes up and he's inspecting basically I think there's four that are down.
Yeah, there's four corpses of dire trolls, and these things have extra arms and legs,
Right.
extra heads, but it doesn't take much of an inspection. In fact, I'll save you the D20 roll. Some of the heads and legs appear to have been grafted onto the torsos of the dire trolls. It's disturbing. Definitely unnatural, but in a natural way. Like, it seems that some twisted force of nature is to blame for this aberration of trollness.
So he goes up to inspect at least several of one or more of the bodies, but specifically looking at like the gear that they have, to see whether or not that, if anything, jogs his memory as to why they may be such kind of distorted creatures.
Sure. Yeah. So, first of all, I'm going to invite you to make a nature check. And I'm going to give you a DC 14 as a threshold.
That is a 13.
Yeah. So you're looking at these things and you're like, man, I mean, clearly very gnarly. And there's something about this that it's not shocking to you, but it's jarring to see, but it's not surprising to you. Like you've heard stories of a certain strain of nasty, nasty troll who has the ability to morph itself or change itself by some means. Um, but the how and the what of it escapes you.
Okay. So Bull goes up to because Bull now has some idea with regards to who his crew is, meaning who's in his adventure party here, and he talks to goes up to Ming because he knows that Ming has some element of kind of spiritual kind of potential mystical magic. Not necessarily. No, he's not going to talk to Illa. And and then he's gonna ask he's gonna say pretty man, um eh, does this is any of this familiar to you and what you've learned through the ages with the magic that you know?
These creatures are abominations of nature, as far as I can tell, perhaps crafted through some unknown dark art. I have not seen this type of troll or giant kin in my travels. I am concerned that there may be more, and that our encounter this evening could be with some sort of a patrol or hunting party.
I will say, to your point, Ming, the giant kin is correct. These things are anywhere from 16 to 8 feet, 18 feet tall. The four of them, kind of in that range. Again, dark green skin, almost leprous in places. Tattered sort of loincloth of some stained, just rancid smelling material, small skulls fashioned as a belt on a couple of them. No weapons to speak of. They have just absolutely vicious claws on their hands. Um, and
It,
and grafted is the right word.
it may be
Um,
prudent to avoid direct contact with these creatures. There does seem to be an element of disease or necrosis. Without touching them, Wiley, could Ming kind of inspect them to see if there's any clues as to their origins based on their physical condition?
yeah, I would say whichever is more advantageous to Ming, roll either medicine or nature as you kind of I'm picturing you crouching over them. The flickering campfire of theirs has burnt down some, so it's very dim in this grotto. Um, and I'm not a kind of speaks up like, well, no, no wonder we didn't see them. This grotto shielded the firelight fairly well. As Tanwal kind of curses herself for missing this. That's been kind of her take on the whole thing. It's like, how the hell did Scar and I miss this?
So I will go with a nature check. And I rolled a natural 20 on the die, so a total of 21. And the only other thing that I would want to do is also use my divine sense to get an idea if there is good or evil lurking in the shadows within 60 feet.
Okay. Behind you, chill runs down your spine as a horde of demon. I'm just kidding. Um, all's quiet on the spiritual outreach. That kind of that range that you seem to have gotten command of to just sense that presence. All seems quiet in that regard. Um, with regard to the nature check, as you look at I'm picturing you like maybe with a stick or
Mhm.
some, crude implement poking and prodding, moving an appendage here and there. You see there's occasionally just gruesome, like in the rib area, maybe part of a face and a maw hanging open, shapen from another troll. One of these has forearms, um, another with just two. One of them has three heads. Just a altogether disturbing scene. With your nature check, you're 21. What you see is some of the appendages and even maybe around the neck you could see they've been somehow grafted, like maybe twined with some kind of, you know, ropey, twiny, woody, thin material, probably some kind of, viney vegetation. But other things appear to have just kind of grown out of the giant. You're aware that trolls regenerate, and it's easy to see that they've been feasting upon the smaller regular trolls. So your sense is that perhaps by doing that act of cannibalism, actually part of it enables them to generate these additional appendages. As you look, you notice that some of the grafted appendages don't really match maybe skin tone, muscle, size, like they were literally, grafted, sewn on, and then they kind of took and became part of the host, if you will. But some of it also appears to have like grown through that. Your best guess is through that regenerative process. Thoroughly disturbing um, as you start to look at this. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say while Ming's doing that, he so Bull kind of processed that what Ming had kind of told him, and with that he kind of thought, okay, so maybe there's something else that's going on here. So he starts to kind of search the perimeter. Bull does, to see whether or not there's anything unusual in terms of like tracks or something that he'd be familiar with because he's from this area and he's used to traveling in this area, coming back and forth across the mountains. So he kind of knows what the normal animals that should be tracking in this area, and he would also probably, hopefully, know something that's out of place. So
Sure.
he's
Yeah. The only thing you can see out of place, most of the ground here is really hard scrabble, rocky. And the only signs of anything that seems out of the ordinary would be some of the black blood trail that probably dripped either from fresh wounds if it's tacky and wet and dried on the rocks here and there, probably from the trolls that were being consumed by the dire trolls. There is a fair amount of blood here and there, and it seems that you can make out a few faint partial footprints of the dire trolls who may have tracked some of the blood here and there. Aside from that, you don't notice anything out of order. I want to welcome our raiders. Looks like Troll Lord Games jumped in. So, man, thank you for doing that. We really appreciate that. And, man, if you need some cool stuff for your gaming table, I cannot say enough good about the Troll Lord Games things. Castles and Crusades. I'm in a game in their setting of Aird. I hope I'm saying that right, or Airdy. Stephen Chenault dreamed that up. Stephen was a colleague and friend, compatriot of Gary Gygax back in the day. Goes back to TSR. And so Troll Lord Games is just a really, really cool business and a really great group of people. So thanks for rating us. And Phantom and Jay Rob taught me Castles and Crusades and DM me some at Gary Con. And so glad to have you aboard. So yeah, it doesn't look much out of place other than this, this encampment. There is a nasty sack kind of stuffed between some in a gap kind of behind some rocks that you can see. And otherwise it just looks like these dire trolls were set for the night, and they were having supper, at the much to the dismay of the other trolls they had killed.
Which direction was the kind of the did it appear that the dire trolls were coming from? into this encampment?
From up in the hills,
Okay.
from what you could tell, it's hard again with rocky ground. It looks like they maybe came down from the
Okay.
mountains.
As
Does
there, as
go
no,
ahead.
go
Sorry,
ahead.
Chris.
No,
No,
no, go ahead. Ask your
I
question.
was just going to ask one other thing was with our I can't think of her name. That is
Commander Harwell,
Commander
Tonwall. Sorry,
Tomwell. So
Tonwall.
Bull asked Tomwell, um, uh, Commander, does this location fit anything on your map? And so he wants her to be able to kind of go to the map that they came with
Yeah.
and potentially see if there's anything that might correspond to this, that we then have an idea of where we need to go beyond here.
Yeah, she kind of stops from cursing herself. She's very distraught that this whole kind of thing was allowed to, happen on her watch, if you will. And she goes over to her great white wolf. And upon the saddle, she unfastens a couple of leather thongs and clips and pulls out a scroll tube and unfurls the map. Begins poring over it. Yes, I'll have a look, of course. And she, at once begins to you can see her touching the map and looking. She kind of holds it up to get some firelight as you continue to investigate the scene.
And as they're excuse me, gosh, I'm getting all choked up.
It
As
happens.
they, it does, yeah. Stage fright. As they
Stream fright. Yeah.
stream fright. As they're searching around and looking, Elith he's closing up his spell focus and putting it back in his pouch. It's attached to him on a chain, but he slips it back into his pouch. He's still got his dagger in his hand, and he says, "Gentlemen, I have to tell you, I am quite impressed. I am quite impressed by what I've seen here. I'm impressed that you all have managed to live for as long as you have. And I think when we get back to camp, perhaps we should talk about a change in tactics. Because I think if we continue down this route, none of us will last very long."
Agreed. I'm all ears and in 100% agreement that we could have done things better.
I think I have made it a philosophy in my life to play to my strengths. And my strength is not fighting an army of giants. My strength is, moving around in a clandestine way, finding the information we need, and perhaps if we think about locating whoever's leading this particular horde, perhaps we can decapitate the top of the structure, decapitate that person, take them out, and perhaps the rest will fall away.
You're not wrong. I believe our thirst for revenge was guiding us in a direction of aggression, where perhaps a more subtle approach could be used in the future.
Well, I can understand the desire for revenge, but I think we're all in agreement that we should proceed in a different way, and I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. And as he says that, he's sliding his dagger back into his belt.
Harvash, Tonwall, the gnome commander, steps forward and looks at Elith, nods. This is my fault. I'm anxious. I'm angry. The Feanor, the half-elves were kindly farmers. They're gone, murdered. This location, she looks up at this location. She points it out on the map, kind of circles. There's nothing here of any importance. These disgusting, foul creatures have just holed up here for the night to feed upon other foul creatures. It is good that we ended them, but tactically speaking, you're not wrong, wizard, skulker. Yes, you're not wrong. We should take great care. None of us here are equipped to, if in fact we're dealing with a horde of giants or whatever the case may be, none of us, no one, the village of Headwater is not equipped to call down the wrath of a group of nasty giant kin. And she looks at Bull. Please, no offense.
Bull nods in agreement with her, says much, and says, "They've done much damage to my tribe. I'm here to only find the human to find the giants that are attacking the humans and bring this to a stop." And he goes back to kind of going over to the where that sack is that you had mentioned that is between the couple rocks. So he goes over there while she's doing this to investigate.
And,
Sure.
and Elith says to them, "No, my gnomish friend, now is not the time to attribute fault. No one is to blame. We all knew what we were doing and what we had agreed to. The fault is not with one person. So don't worry about that."
She kind of sweeps back her blonde mane, and affixes whatever's holding kind of the top knot blonde hair cascading down her back, and adjusts her armor and pokes at the armor on the great white wolf, and nods. Fair enough, but still, it pains me. We shall take more caution and rely more on our wits than our anger. She kind of strokes at the scar a little bit and adjusts the patch over her left eye. Shakes her head. What have you there? And she looks over at Bull. I'm not a wizard. The druid has also kind of taken an interest and gone over there with you, Bull. And with his staff has kind of, poked a little bit at the sack that's there, kind of half sticking out from behind the rocks, and says, something definitely hard in here.
So Bull Bull opens the sack.
Okay. Yeah, you can pull it out. It's a big sack. I'm not a kind of strokes his goatee a bit. Not like trolls to carry sacks. This is a giant bag. Interesting how they may have come by this. Take care as you open that. And he kind of steps back, keeps his staff at the ready.
Ming will follow suit and step back as well. Do
Two.
trolls and giants typically work together in these parts?
Bull looks up, shakes his head to Ming, agreeing with that as his knowledge of this of what he just said, and he's somewhat can so before Bull opens it, can he have some? But just by feeling the outside of the sack, can he have some idea of what's inside?
Sure, roll investigation as you kind of, just carefully, maybe I'm picturing you kind of dragging it out and stopping and looking back like, oh,
Yeah,
and kind of
9.
maybe patting it. And it has some heft, and you can feel some items clink and clunk around in there and shift around. Roll investigation for me.
9.
9, yeah. So you hear the clink of coin,
Okay.
and all of you would hear this. Harvash kind of, her head kind of turns. She's over kind of tending to Scar, the wolf Scar spell. And she turns. Coin? Definitely not a troll. Satchel? Yeah, so you can open the sack if you wish. It's definitely a really large sack, not like you buy a large sack at the old mercantile.
Sure.
This is like a sack you could put a person in. It's like a giant bag. Giants are known for carrying bags.
Yep.
Of
So yeah,
all manner of
Bull,
things.
you know, knowing that Bull is 7 foot tall and 300 pounds, it may seem big to some people, but for him, this is kind of a normal size sack, I would say. and then or something that's larger but not immense. And he basically just takes it and takes the bag end, the end of the bag, and basically tips it upside down to let whatever's inside just fall out.
Bag end, you say?
That bag end, that's right. That's right.
Oh, yeah. So you, for you, it's still a large sack, but not nearly as, you know, as large as it appears to the rest of the group, given your stature. So yeah, so you empty clang bang and stuff and the glitter of coin as a pile of silver pours out, a larger pile of gold coin as well, pours out, and even some very very brilliantly colored uh, platinum looking coin. Two very crystalline clear uncut gems drop in this little hoard you found, in addition to two blades, a very very nice dagger, and a very nicely made short sword also come with a little less ease, kind of a little bit wrapped up, and they kind of have to fish them out of there. And that is the contents of the sack that you've just dumped onto the ground in front of the group. The coin kind of catches the glint and the glitter of the firelight. Quite a merry little place now that the dire trolls are dead. They really did choose a nice place to hole up for the night.
Is there a reason that we should consider burning these bodies before we leave this place, or do we leave them to the carrion and the scavengers of the region? What is the tradition, Bull Mall?
Bull looks at Ming and uh, says, "To for my people, we will have a sac. We will bury our dead in the Goliaths that have fallen. But for these creatures, I think you do what you will." And he kind of just scoffs at it and moves on.
I
He
wonder. I wonder if he's asking whether there's some possibility that if we don't burn these bodies, that they might reconstitute and attack us once again. I certainly wouldn't want that.
That is indeed true, as well as perhaps infecting other creatures of the forest and of the mountains with whatever strange affliction we're looking at here. These creatures have been affected by some fell magic. Whether it's contagious or not is a question perhaps for our druid friend.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not a ways in. It's funny, had kind of vanished for a moment or two, out of the sight of the group, and then he kind of comes back in from the darkness. Yes, yes, they should be burned. Um, I don't know that they would fully come back to life. We've killed them, but we should burn all of them before we depart this place. Um, and he actually sets about dragging them maybe close to the fire as you all continue on. The coin, um, as you look at it, you would recognize Bull from your travels in this area. And I'm trying to remember, Elith, you're from the region, right?
No,
Totally knew
no.
that. So Bull, you'd recognize these as Keelan standard mint. The platinums are griffins, the gold pieces are lions, the silver pieces are hawks. This is the vernacular common to this area. Sterich to be sort of a ally, certainly a close ally. Things have been strained over the years, over the decades, but they still Keelan doesn't lay claim to Sterich, but the leadership of Sterich is very much beholden to that of Keeland.
The,
And
the,
so it's by no surprise that the coin is Keelandish.
are the coins when they're minted? Do they have like the picture of a ruler or something like that on the coin so that
It's
they're
more
recognizable?
the image of that for which they're named.
Okay.
Like the seal of Keeland would be on one side, and the image of the griffin on the platinum piece, or the lion on the gold piece, or the hawk on the silver. Electrum are eagles, and coppers are sparrows in the Keeland
He's gonna
tradition. Yeah.
Elith is going to pick up one of the gold coins and look at it pretty closely and see if they mark their coins with dates that they're minted or years, so that there's
Yeah,
some
you don't
date.
you don't get any indication of any such mark. Just the seal of Keeland and the imagery. That appears to be the extent of the maker's mark there,
Does
or the
it
mint strikes. Yeah.
do the coins look old or relatively recent?
Various states. Some of them are scuffy and smoother. Some of them look to be a little less, maybe shinier, little newer. Yeah,
Okay.
good
All
question.
Should
right.
should we
It's
seek
a mix. Yeah.
to not over encumber ourselves with coin and gear that we recover along the way? I do have a bag of holding that we could keep things inside, and I would be happy to take responsibility for keeping track of these things. Should we seek to go that route?
Bull turns to Ming, says, "You keep them. You keep them in your bag." And but before he gives them, he then goes through it, the loot again one more time, looking to see if there's any clues with regards to why these trolls may have been here or not,
Sure.
to see whether or not he's missing something.
Yeah. So the two gems, if you look at those you get excited at first because they're clear, whitish, right? They catch a little glint here and there. They're uncut, so they're not, faceted or anything. You're thinking, oh, diamonds, but alas, quartz. But still some value. Do we have any gemologisty, stony people in the group who have that background or skill? There definitely some value there. A quick tally of the coin. There's 76 platinum. I don't know who wants to keep track. I can also post it in Discord later.
I got. I'll keep a Excel sheet.
Okay. So the treasure is going into a spreadsheet. Nice merging of 583 CY Greyhawk and 2023 Earth. I love it.
That's right.
76 platinum, 300. Excuse me, goodness, I'm sorry. 300, 17 gold, 138 silver hawks. There's again the two weapons. There's a very fine short sword and a scabbard, and
Okay.
a very finely made dagger, also in a sheath, with a belt or shoulder strap that could be used to hold it on your person.
Elith, is it possible for you to identify the nature of these weapons? They seem of fine craftsmanship.
Well, you give me 11 minutes and I can determine if any of this stuff is magic, and then 11 minutes more I can tell you exactly what they are.
22 minutes, you shall have it.
I'm not a nods. It'll take us this much time to round up sufficient wood to burn these nasty things, as he's kind of coming in and out of the little grotto with armloads of wood and stuff. It's very clearly he's focused on the destruction of the corpses. Harvesh Tunwall has been kind of standing guard. She sent Scar off, presumably probably patrolling, looking about. She keeps kind of wringing her hands. She has those incredibly fabulous leather gauntlets that if you recall the combat, she and some significant lightning came out of those bad boys and crisped up one of the dire trolls. And she's just pacing like a cat in a cage, waiting to be let out for dinner. Thinking, looking at the map. Half day's march to Feanor, the family farm, on the way to the outpost, which is another most of a day beyond. We'll do well to wrap up here and finish our rest, and I can be up early to look over us while we rest fully, if that is what is needed. And she looks over at Ming in his present condition. Did you do any healing or anything following combat? I know we kind of wrapped at the end of that combat, Ming. What's your current state of affairs? You mentioned you got at one point down to 12 hit points.
Yeah, I used all of my lay on hands to give myself a good touch, so I'm back
Okay.
up to 52.
Yeah, great. And just as a reminder, following long rests in our little campaign, you get whatever damage you're down when you start your long rest, you get half of that back after a long rest, and that continues overnight. Half, half, half. Outside, obviously, magical healing takes place per normal, per whatever you're using to magically heal. But we don't get like the hard reset respawn overnight healing, as far as that goes. And again, just as a reminder too, if during a short rest you burn any hit dice to regain hit points, you after the long rest, those don't fully set. You only get half of those back. But spell slots fully reset. Like we didn't tinker with that. That wouldn't make sense. So just to put a little more bite in the bran muffin, so to speak. Okay. So Amnata is working on the gathering of wood to burn the troll bodies. You've got your coin figured out. A couple of the quartz you would guesstimate probably worth about 75 gold in their present condition. They're pretty nice.
Total?
And then you have the sword and the dagger.
So while they're doing the things that they're doing, Elith will take out his spell focus again from his pouch, and he will begin to cast detect magic over the horde of stuff.
Sure. So with detect magic, typically just the generic sense is that you're able to determine a couple of things. One is anything magically imbued in some way, shape, or form. Is there a magical dwemer present? And second, like what's the nature of that, like the school, if you will, of magic. And most definitely, describe for me what happens. What do you see or feel or experience when you are casting detect magic and you do discover that there are magical items?
So he can see it. They begin to glow as the detect magic spell casts. The items begin to glow, and he just hasn't when he looks at them more closely, he has an understanding of what that type of magic is. He can sort of identify what the type of magic is from the way it glows, maybe the color that it glows. That's how he does it.
Okay. Yeah, so you can see that each of these items, the sword and the dagger, have been somehow enchanted. So you're getting a sense the school of magic is enchantment.
And while his spell is up, he's going to pick up the dagger in his hand, but he's going to look around, not trying to make it obvious, but he's going to look at his new companions and
Okay.
see what they've got going on.
Why don't you roll deception for me to sort of cover your efforts here? And gentlemen, I'm going to invite you to have a peek at your passive perception while you're focused on, each of you is kind of focused on a task. Bull is maybe putting away the treasure back in the sack. I'm not sure what Ming's doing. Harvash is completely oblivious, as is Amnata. But how did you do on your deception roll there?
I got a 19.
A 19. So if his deception roll is beneath your passive perception, you might have noticed him doing whatever it is he's doing. Okay.
Nope, didn't
So nobody
notice.
did.
Oh,
All right.
uh,
So Elith, you feel like you've successfully, hey, the real long shot, what's up, man? Welcome to our chat. You feel like maybe they really haven't picked up on whatever it is that you think you're doing there.
Sneaky.
Sneaky sneak.
Yeah, so I'm going to detect whatever magic they have.
Okay. So, Bull, would you mind maybe just giving us an overview of if someone were to randomly, and I'm not saying this is happening, detect magic upon you, what schools of magic might they be alerted to? And would those vibrations be coming from anything visible on your person?
yes. So he would it'd be pretty clear that he has several weapons that are on him that are glowing. He has, and I'm not sure what schools they would be coming from, but it would be, he basically has a staff that's on his back, as well as a long sword that's on his hip in hilt, and then uh, a, a large axe, which is again kind of on his back as well, that's kind of crossed with the staff. So he's got a staff and an axe on his back, and a long sword on his hilt. And that is what for him is glowing.
Okay. Ming?
Well, certainly the bag of holding that he is scooping the coins and placing things inside of his magical. He has a finely crafted scimitar in a scabbard that also glows with a magic dwemer. There appears to be in his pack some sort of vessel, a flask or bottle of some kind that gives off a probably a transmutation magic. And then he has a cloak, which is obviously magical. You've seen him use it, but that gives off a transmutation magic as well. And then in addition to that, there's an amulet that he wears on a chain around his neck that is tucked beneath his clothing that also glows.
Okay. The druid has that staff. I'm guessing it's probably kind of stowed on his back somewhere. Maybe he's walking with it. That gives off a very strong sense of numerous um, abjuration. What's the summoning one? Yeah, the summoning kind. Divination. There's powerful magics around that staff, for sure. As far as Commander Tonwall, her gauntlets, definitely evocation, strong. Not surprising there. Um, and that's really kind of the extent for her.
Okay, and once he's done with that, he's going to go back and cast identify on the dagger and the sword.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so after the 11 minutes of the spell casting and the ritual time, just for the maybe for the group's enjoyment and that of our viewers, what does it look like when Elith is spell casting? You're focused on your detect magic, you have a spell focus, I assume you mentioned
Yep.
earlier. What would anybody notice as you're going about this?
So his spell focus is a looks like what a pocket watch might look like. It's attached to a chain that's on his that's attached to his armor, and he holds it in a pouch. But so when he takes it out, it's still on the chain, and it has a cover on it, so he can lift the cover off. And then you see what looks like the face of a clock. It's got some hands on it, and as he's casting the spell, in addition to saying the words and making the hand movement, he also manipulates the hands on the surface of the pocket watch as he's casting it, concentrating, saying the words of magic until the spell finally casts.
Nice. Interesting. Very well. So, what is it that you're able to discern as you cast and perform your ritual of casting investigation
So
or
once
identify?
yeah. So once he's cast the spell, he's going to say, "Gentlemen, these weapons are indeed magic, and I believe that they are finely crafted magic weapons, and your chance to procure a hit on your enemy would be increased by a magnitude of I don't know, say maybe one."
1/20th, in fact, has 5%
1/20th.
chance to
One
strike a
20th
foe.
of a chance, and your damage is likewise increased by that. Powerful magics.
So +1 dagger, +1 sword. Does anybody have like weaponsmith, armoriness, any specific lore of local races or groups who might be able to identify the nature, the craftsmanship of said weapons?
I mean, Ming has proficiency in martial weapons, so I imagine
Okay.
not
So
being
you
a
you know those
smith,
are a
but
dagger and a short sword, and
yep.
they're very, very finely made. Um, you could feel the balance, the weight, how they enter and exit their respective sheath and scabbard. They come out slightly oiled. Um, Bull, anything from you? Do you have any background along those lines?
You know, obviously the languages that he knows are, uh, giant and ogre, and so I don't know if there's any inscriptions on the
There
side.
there are in fact some runes
Hmm.
on the scabbard, on the sheath, even etched upon the blades here and there. And the rune work is actually the same on each item.
Can he does Bull recognize any of the
What were the
writing?
languages that you speak again? I
Uh,
apologize.
yep, no problem. Common, Elvish, Giant, and Ogre.
Okay. Yeah, nothing jumps off the scabbard at you.
So
If you
in addition to those languages, Elith's, well, he doesn't speak many of the ones that he just mentioned, but Elith speaks Orc. And Thieves Cant, although I doubt it's in Thieves Cant because that's
Yeah,
not
no
really
thieves can't there. Yeah. Yeah.
what Orc he
Dwarvish.
speaks.
Dwarvish Ming. Yeah, these are runes of valor in battle, of um glory over your foes. They're dwarvish runes. Between that and your proficiency in martial weapons, you would hazard a guess that these are definitely of dwarvish make, which would make sense in this region. Headwater in particular, the mayor is a dwarf. Um,
Do
so
does Ming get a sense that they're part of a set, like they belong together, or
they look
that
like the runes are identical. The scripting,
on
the
both?
the
Yeah.
styling, yeah, they
Okay.
look as if they were forged as a set of dwarvish, a dagger and a short sword, and they're both +1 to damage and to hit.
And you
Uh,
said that. Go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
I was going to say, is there any other than those runes, anything else on the? Elith is going to look at both of them very, very closely, and what he's looking for is, um, in addition to the runes, maybe something like a maker's mark or something that might date them, like a maker's mark would. I don't know. I
Yeah,
made this and
like a
whatever.
mint strike or something.
Yeah,
Sure.
something like that.
Yeah. All you see are dwarvish runes. Again, Ming deciphering these, looking at them. Um, as you do this, Harvash wanders, or what have you there?
Oh, these
Dwarvish
are
make.
Yes, I see that very clearly. Yes. Those are the work of one of the cousins of the mayor. Um, Down in the very southern tip of Sterich. Let me zoom my map in further that I might. There's dwarven mining camp uh, and a forge known for fine weaponry. I would rather hazard a guess these came from right there.
hmm.
Several leagues upstream into where the crystal mist and the Jotuns come together.
So of recent make, you believe?
Oh, by recent, you mean the last 50 years? Certainly.
I do not know of the customs of this region, but I do believe that it is unlikely that these weapons fell into the hands of giants and giantkin willingly.
Her face darkens. You could almost see the vein on her forehead kind of pop out a little bit as she, again, kind of strokes her top knot, as it seems she does when she's thinking, yes, I'm sure these were not given to the trolls.
Well, perhaps we can keep them safe and perhaps help them find their way back to the rightful owner or those who share kinship with them.
Yes, I'm sure His Honor the Mayor would be quite interested in having a look at these.
And the location of the coins was from which region?
Keeland, which
Okay.
is a larger kingdom to the east and the north of Sterich, but there's a strong history of both good and bad relations between Sterich and Keelan. As it stands now, relations are cool, but there is most certainly connection between the two kingdoms. Sterich has always been kind of viewed as more of a not. I mean, they pledge their fealty to Keelan, but they're not a official territory. They did, Sterich has its own leadership, but Keeland probably looks rather at it as if it's an extension of Keeland. It's complicated, and
Bull,
it's changed over the years.
all right, Bull, will then kind of speak to the party and say, I think we have what we need here. We must go to our next location. We must go to the family farm.
Roll perception as you all are kind of sorting yourselves out. And does anyone wish to wield either of these weapons? If not, I'll stow them on the wolf for safekeeping.
Not I.
Bull shakes his head.
I would wield the dagger for now and keep it
And so you
safe.
should. She reaches out to take the short sword and sheath, kind of wraps the belt thong around it and stows it quickly. Scar has returned to the encampment. Go ahead and roll perception, I think. Yeah.
Bull got a
Elith,
six.
Elith got a 19.
26.
Yikes.
Oh,
That's what I do.
Yeah, you perceive.
He perceives. Yeah. How'd you do there, Bull?
6.
6.
Bull
Yeah,
does not perceive.
he does not perceive.
Oh,
Does
Yeah,
not
you-
perceive.
he does not perceive.
You get the sense that something fleshy is burning.
Ah,
And you turn from your attention from the weapons and the bag of holding and the conversation to see that Amnata has built a makeshift bonfire, and has somehow caused it to be quite flamey and burny. And it's warm now, quite toasty, in fact, in the grotto as the flames begin to lick at the flesh of the dire trolls and the other trolls as he has set it all ablaze. And he stands back admiring his handiwork, nodding his head, kind of looking over his shoulder at the rest of you.
well,
Like, kind of like, oh, dig me.
it won't be difficult for any nearby giants to figure out where we are.
Perhaps departing sooner than later would be prudent.
Agreed. But I think we do need to rest. I too was injured in the attack, and I'll need some rest before we reach our final destination.
Perhaps we move a distance from this location, set
already-
down for rest.
I've already located a place on the other side of the road, some yards off, shielded nicely from this location. Much better than the first place I selected, I can assure you, says Harvash as she hops aboard Scar, and they bound forward into the night, exiting the grotto.
Okay, Bull follows.
Yeah, Elith does too.
It has to be one of the most thorough investigations of a battle scene that I've been a part of, and so I commend you all, and I would like to, issue each of you an inspiration.
Yes.
I'm going to mark Amnata with an inspiration as well in his character sheet.
I mean, he was just over there trying to start a fire, but fine. You know.
But
Well,
yeah.
for his part, doing druid things, he did very nicely in his own infernal way. But he did seem to take great joy When someone mentioned burning the troll, I got this, and before you know it, there was this grand immolation occurring that made it actually quite uncomfortable in the almost naturally formed oven of the stone grotto. Um, Almost, boy, from space, it's probably almost looks like a cell phone light shooting straight into the night. Focused by the lens that's made by the grotto's formation. But as you get away outside the grotto itself and move away, it becomes dark very quickly. It's a nice little natural, you know, cleft in the rock, if you will. And very quickly, Harvash leads you winding through the rocky ground, again, very much in the foothills of the Jotuns at this point, even though you're just over a day's ride from or march from Headwater. And she leads you 15 minutes away very quickly, crossing the road cautiously, no signs of anything, um, into what appears to be a very similar but larger, maybe a little less tight and secure, but certainly comfortable for the five of you to make camp. Another sort of a hidden. There seem to be numerous little clefts and crevasses and things created by the shoulders of hills and little starts of canyons and caves and such in this rocky terrain. And you find yourselves in a place that seems quite secure. Um, couldn't even, it almost surprised you when she brought you to it. You're like, oh, well, okay. So you wish to set watch for the remainder of the night? She did volunteer to take a final watch, so that if anyone needs to sleep long enough and into the light, the daytime hours, they can do so.
Bull will take the first watch.
Very well. Amnata will offer to take second watch.
More than that, do we need
That'll
4?
probably get you there, actually.
Sounds
3
good.
hours apiece, give or take. Okay, so you settle in. Thankfully, the night passes uneventfully, now that the events are over. So, as you awaken, sure enough, as promised, Harvash is up and seated, gazing about, smoking a pipe. Looks like she's made a small, almost indistinguishable little fire over which she's brewed herself some tea. The only sign of it is really this tiny little wisp of smoke that she occasionally kind of disperses. No sign of the wolf. As you all arise, it is fully light out but gray. Again, Ready Reet being a very, very cold month in the Greyhawk calendar, the start of winter. So what do you do upon awakening?
And so we were able to get a long rest.
Yes. Oh, yes. Please adjust your hit points accordingly. So whatever you were down, calculate half of that and add it to your total. And if you expended any hit dice during a short rest on the previous day, add half of those back to your total of available hit dice. If you did not, you're good. All your spell slots, whatever it is you do to claim, refocus, recreate your magical abilities, by all means.
Alrighty.
Are any of you still feeling the effects of our battle yesterday? Ming is sort of assessing his companions. I could provide some additional healing if that would be helpful to you.
Well, look,
Go ahead, Chris.
I am better after the long rest, although I am still injured.
If you would allow me to call upon the power of my deity, Zanye, I could channel some of that loving warmth to provide you with additional healing.
That I have no objection to that. I just want to make sure our giant friend, our Goliath friend, is also not injured. Or
Bull shakes his head and says that my healing is enough. I feel strong. I'm ready for our next battle.
Very well. Ming gathers a few things out of his pack, including a small brass bowl that he lays on the ground, and then a small bundle of herbs that's tied together, and he holds it over the small fire that Tarnish is brewing tea over, and lights it and snuffs it out, so it just burns with this very delicate smoke. And he just puts it in the bowl, and he says to Elith, "Sit with me and just breathe deeply of the essence of Zanye."
he'll sit down and breathe deeply of the essence of Zanye.
How many hit points are you down?
I'm down 17.
You are no longer down 17.
Sweet. Thank you. I appreciate the healing of Zanye. Thank you very much for doing that.
Of course.
Harvesh watches and begins to, she's stacked a little bit of wood here and there, anticipating the need for a cooking fire in the morning, and begins to stoke up and build up the small fire that she had started for her tea. And with a short whistle, within seconds of that, bounds into your kind of clearing in the rocks, if you will, the great wolf, Scarspell. And she, from one of his saddlebags, pulls out and unwraps, very tightly wrapped, some sort of meat, and begins preparing a kind of a rustic breakfast of cooked meat. She pulls out a crusty loaf, and tosses it to Bull. And so breakfast will be shortly. She announces will be ready shortly. As she has like this metal sort of platform that she can unroll the meat, kind of thin, and it looks to be a fair amount. She pulls a couple of these little packages of meat out. She pulls some out, and then looks up at the Goliath and goes over and gets two more. pulls more out. I presume everyone likes their meat cooked. She tosses one to Scar.
I do indeed prefer it that way, if I am totally honest.
Bull looks up at her, kind of indifferent. He's already done, like he's already gone through the bread that was already thrown them, looking for something else.
I would just, while we're preparing breakfast, I would just say to the group, if we are to reach our destination today, we might want to think about how we will investigate this place, but do it perhaps in a more cautious way.
I will say that I've been to the site. It's grisly. My soldiers and I tidied things up to some extent without disturbing what remains, so that we might discern what took place. And so, yes, we need to be cautious but thorough.
Did you leave a guard behind?
No, not safe.
Yeah, so we have no idea whether anything has returned.
Correct.
Bodies sometimes attract, beyond giants, the bodies themselves could attract.
Oh, we took care of that. The family, we built a pyre.
Okay.
And by the way of Fortubo, disposed and honored and respected them as best we could. And again, her face just darkens. This is such a kind group, the Feanor, Stefdor, Benia, the parents, three, not children, young adults, Avorith, Salaya, and Traindil. Celaya being the lone female of their children, all taken. Most disturbing.
And
These are
by taken you mean killed.
Their lives taken, yes, murdered.
You found all of their bodies.
Yes, we did.
these are difficult times. There's no question of that. And your sorrow is palpable, and respect your feelings on this matter. Ming's going to take
Living in the
some.
wilds is not safe, but this was not a natural.
Indeed.
They were raided.
Indeed.
She just abruptly cuts you off, and you could just feel her. She's literally, like you said, palpable, trying to contain her rage at this.
Justice will be brought upon those who destroyed these young lives. That I can promise. And Ming is going to take a set of rations and hand them to Bull, like as he's talking, and then he's going to turn to Elith. To your point, Elith, a strategy of sorts for our approach to the farmhouse would be a smart maneuver for us to discuss ahead of time. Perhaps I've seen you in action. You have the ability to sneak about and make stealthy approach, as do I. Perhaps together the two of us could investigate before the rest of the party advances, so that we don't expose ourselves to some additional combat that we're not ready for. It is best if we engage in combat on our own terms going forward.
Agreed. I certainly
kinda
don't want to be
grunts.
surprised.
Nods, pulls the map back out, spreads it out on a rock as you all now start to look it out. And she points with a kind of a dirty little gnomish finger, again, still fussing a bit with her top knot gauntlets. She seems to have, I guess you don't cook wearing conduit gloves. And so here is the location of their farm, and she points, and it's it's southeast. It's up in the foothills, but it's indicated that there's a valley there where some ground might be farmed, which strikes you as a little odd. And it's been kind of indicated on there, and she points it out and sort of just roughly draws in a little bit of maybe loose, dusty dirt that's accumulated on the rock floor, just a simple, there's a farmhouse and the pen, and she kind of lays out a little bit, just a diagram, if you will, shows where the pyre is near the house. It's just a farmhouse and an animal barn, maybe a small, like outbuilding for tools and the like, and then like a paddock area that's been fenced, and that's it. The farm faces, see, I think I had that in there. Yeah, it's a small valley. It faces northwest back toward headwater. It's gated. She just described, single story timber, stone, simple farmhouse, a 2-story barn for storage, and then a low slung animal barn for their few sheep and horses, and then just outbuildings for storage of wood and implements.
Is the entire property fenced in?
It is, yes. There's a gate in the front and a gate in the rear, both of which were destroyed. The house, boulders strewn about, which is what leads us to believe that the giant kind were at work.
So then after the attack, there are more than 2 entrances, I suppose. The fence was damaged.
It is wide open, yes.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place, now desecrated.
Bull, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Bull turns to them as Ilith and Ming are having the discussion with regards to how to, stay stealthy and approach with caution. He turns to them and says, "Friends, I do have the ability to make 1 or 2 of us not visible for a period of time, if that may be helpful, as we approach with caution."
Well, we must have been trained by the same master, because I also have that ability.
Ah.
Not that we're not that this is a competition.
Bull looks and says, I think your masters are very different than my masters. And kind of goes back, busying himself, getting things packed up from his long rest.
Mine was
He's,
probably
again,
shorter.
Bull is not totally sure that he trusts Illith. So whatever he's speaking, it's when his tone with him is more, he's registering it, but he's not sure that he can totally believe anything he's telling him.
Suspicioso.
Yes.
Well, I believe that we should stealthily approach the Ming and I should stealthily approach the compound and see if there's any creatures there and get a sense of what they are, if they are, and then report back, and we can take it from there. Perhaps there's nothing still there.
Harvesh looks around and nods.
And Bull shakes his head in agreement.
Very well. Let us quickly finish and be on our way. We're half a day ride up the road. And again, beyond that, the Piney Crag outpost awaits us another less than a day. We could be there tomorrow before darkness if we don't tarry long at the farm. You could tell every time, she continues, she always kind of brings up the outpost, and she's, obviously concerned for the well-being of her soldiers that man the outpost, having not heard anything now for nigh upon over a 10-day, which was the whole purpose for assembling your group and for her accompaniment.
Bull, I'm curious. These trolls, these mutant trolls that we faced last night, is it common for them to journey in packs of 4, or any size of pack?
Bull turns to Illith and you ask good question, human. I have only seen them in isolation. We do not see trolls commonly in this area, but when we do, they are typically by themselves. So no, it is very uncommon to have this many, and these deformed creatures are peculiar to the point where I have not seen these, and I've never learned of these either from either my masters or as a child growing up hearing stories of tales of trolls in this area. So neither are familiar to me.
Well, that is very troubling.
As you all are speaking and wrapping up and preparing to take to the road, you see Amnada step to the campfire once Harvash removes all of her cooking apparel and so forth, and make a gesture, and a breeze from apparently nowhere comes and snuffs out the campfire. And with a booted foot, he scatters the now cold embers, just leaving a small pile of charred wood. And he just gives a good scout around. We should go.
Well, Elith stands and gets his possessions and prepares to leave.
Harvath hops upon Scar. How would you like to? I can venture ahead. We have the advantage of Scar's scent and his sight, his hearing is keen. Hunter, of course.
I think any advantage we can get is a welcome one.
Okay. You're kind of surprised at how quietly this animal moves, given that he has plate mail armor upon his shoulders and chest. It seems to make no noise, or at least not the noise you think it should. obviously as a great, a large wolf, larger than large wolves, bigger than, like, alarming sometimes. Um, very lithe, very stealthy, very quiet. It's almost a little bit unnerving because you're there, Scar's there, Scar's not there. You're there, whoops, Scar's back. Scar's right next to me. Scar is sniffing me. Just very stealth, always on watch, and startlingly quiet. Yeah. The only one of you that it seems not at all bothered by this would be the druid. For whatever reason, perhaps they've bonded. You don't know, but yeah. Okay. So if everyone is all right, I'll take point. Lead us up the road. I wish to make haste.
Yes, in agreement.
So they bound off. Scar moves quickly. He's got 50 feet of movement, so noticeably quicker, and they, in no time, vanish up around the bend ahead of you. What marching order will you establish for your road travel? The road is basically a cart road. Excuse me, it's more a track than a graded, established, maintained road. It's very clearly that you're on a road, but it's not a very high quality, and it's only basically a cart or so wide in most places. The only traffic that comes out here is that which services the outpost, from, at least from what you've heard, and the farm.
Bull will go, he'll go second behind Harvath.
Okay. Amnata offers to bring up the rear and watch from back there.
Can go behind Bull.
And Ming, I can be right in the middle somewhere.
Okay.
But ready to scout ahead when we get close.
Okay. So you make your way. It's a gray, dreary, breezy day. And in fact, I think now is really a nice time to hit the pause button, as you march southeastward toward the Feanor family farm. So let's take, about 10 minutes, enough for everybody to stretch out and maybe grab a snack and a beverage. And so it's 3:02. We'll come back at like 3:12, 3:12. Set phasers to stun, synchronize timepieces. And so thanks for hanging out with us. Again, appreciate the raid, Troll Lord Games. That's really cool when that happens. So, and we'll see you all in 10 minutes or so. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, here we go. 3,
Okay.
2, 1.
All right. I think we're coming back. Just took a bite of Heath bar. That was probably the dumbest thing I could have done. But we're
Should we
gonna
go
play
back?
D&D
Should we go
again.
back to break? Should we?
Yeah, no, we're good. So y'all are headed up the road. Feel free to head up the road. Harvash Tanwal has, vanished around the corner atop the great white wolf Scarspell.
Well, at
Not
least
a
we've got
Wizard
good
is-
weather for the journey.
Yes.
And many crickets seem to be chirping. The healthy cricket
Oh,
population.
how about that game? How about them Bears?
Bears.
Oh, no Bears.
So your journey is per Harvash's indication, the map and everything is just a half day's ride or walk up the road, twisting and winding through the various canyons and rocky outcroppings, copses of cedar, juniper, bald cypress, pine, fir, hemlock. But yeah, before long, you see her stopped in the road. The wolf is pointed to the southeast, and you see a pretty grim layout before you. The farm itself, the buildings lie in charred, collapsed ruins for the most part. You can make out that there was a larger barn that was 2 stories, but part of it's collapsed. It looks like it's been mostly burned. The shell, the frame of it stands, obviously was well constructed of sturdy timber. The single story animal building that she had described and indicated on her makeshift map in the dust is mostly collapsed, thoroughly burned and charred. The house itself stands. It was made of stone and timber. The front door, as you enter through the gate, which is still hanging half on its hinges, the wall around the farm is a low stone wall with a timber gate in the front. There is a sign painted Faynor in common, Faynore, established 491 CY. It's almost 100-year-old family farm. The names hanging beneath the sign: Stephdor, Stephdorr, Benia, Binia, Ivoreth, Ivoreth, Selaya, Sellaya, and Traindill, Traendyl. Each name has its own wooden little placard. They're all hanging one below the other. The 2 largest names, Stephdor and Benia, very clearly the father and the mother, respectively. The sign still stands, as freshly painted, tended to, neat enough. What's interesting about this area is it's actually somewhat, of course, for the time of year, it's more brown and dead grass, but it appears that you've entered a little bit of a verdant valley area, which strikes you as odd because it's been so rocky and kind of barren and so forth, windswept and cold. But this land, as you come out of some of the foothills, it seems it's like a valley that runs kind of I guess it would be kind of northeast to southwest along the foothills, and you can see beyond the in the distance the peaks of the Jotuns rising, snow covered and craggly. So from here, it seems like this is maybe like the last fertile, verdant strip of ground that's tucked in here somehow between the foothills and the beginnings of the Jotuns proper. And so the fence surrounding this farmstead is low stacked stone, perhaps only 3.5 feet, with some timber fashioned above it, presumably to maybe keep anything from jumping out inside of this. And it's hard to gauge how large this is because the ground undulates just a little bit, but it's all kind of dead grass. And it looks like, based on what Harvash had drawn for you in the dust, and I think she mentioned the farm itself was a few hundred acres in size. There was a paddock and some pasturey ground and a pen for sheep and an area for horses. And you can see beyond the gate a stone entryway. It looks like crushed stone, capable of supporting a cart or shod horses, well worn. Makes its way back into the open area between the outbuildings. The house is closest to the road, faces northwest. Everything is situated along the road so that it faces northwest back in the direction of Headwater. And it's a sad scene. You can see the large charred remains of the funeral pyre that was built sort of in the front yard, almost as not only a sign of respect, but perhaps a warning to anything or anyone who may have done this. Should they return, they should note that the site has been made sacred, perhaps, in some way or another. So there you are at the gate, and she just stands there, her face dark, sort of expressionless, as she stands next to the large wolf, fidgeting again with her top knot, with her gauntlets. And finally, she looks up at you. Oh, here we are. From here, it appears, as we left it, it's only been a week. We had to, maybe a 10-day. She kind of sighs. We had to come and tend to this. The caravan on its way to the outpost happened upon the grisly scene and sent word back, and we rushed up right away. Again, no survivors were found. There's a larger burn pile in the barnyard to one side. She kind of points at it. We disposed of the remains of the horses, the sheep we brought back to Headwater for food, chickens, everything dead, crushed, burnt, cut. Please feel free. And she sort of awkwardly extends a diminutive arm toward the open gate that still, looks like it's been partially crushed. You do see here and there boulders that definitely look out of place because, again, you've entered this area that is, again, a bit of a valley. You can very much tell this is, good farm ground, or there wouldn't be a farm here. But it's very much not the hard wind-blown rock and, lonely place that you've journeyed through to get here.
When you say that the boulders look out of place, do they look as though they were maybe hurled and used as a destructive weapon?
100%. There are boulders strewn about near the gate. There's a back gate to the farm campus, if you will, grounds that's been destroyed. There are boulders back there. There are boulders you could see strewn about near the outbuildings, near the house, as you make your way into the grounds. What do you do?
During my days to the north and my trainings and battles that I've served in alongside my brothers and sisters of arms, it is often known that perpetrators of such destruction tend to return to the sites of their successes. It would be good for us now to tread lightly. Perhaps, Elith, the two of us could scout ahead a bit and make sure that there's nothing else lurking about or trying to take advantage of the recent destruction to this homestead.
Agreed. It is a little curious to me that they would go to the trouble of destroying gates. The walls seem low enough that they could have simply stepped over them.
Well, if there's anything that I know about giant kin, and there's not much that I do know, but they are a destructive force. Perhaps just the sheer joy of destruction brought them to this place. The sheer joy of death. These are the things that we must put an end to, and we will, Tarnish. We will put an end to this destructive force on your landscape.
He nods. All we did was quickly respect the remains of the animals and the family. And she kind of gestures toward the remains of the funeral pyre that's in front of the house, and over toward the bigger burn pile over in the kind of the open barnyard area. We did not take time to explore much. The boulders don't belong here, so that's what led us to believe that the giant kin were involved.
I believe that Fortubo would be quite satisfied with your preparations for the family's departure from this place.
Yes, it was brought with us a priest. The mayor, Hill Splitter, was too distraught to make the trip. Didn't seem it necessary at the time, but yes, we did leave a reminder of who governs and watches over us all. And you could see there's a pike driven into the ground in front of the home. Looks like maybe something is hanging from it. Feel free to investigate. I will send Scar to the back farmyard gate to stand watch. I will remain here out of the way.
Does the house look damaged?
Yeah, there. You could tell everything was set ablaze. Boulders, something smashed a lot of the dwellings. The house stands because it's made of stacked stone and strong timber, but it was definitely at one point this whole place must have been up in flames. Must have been quite a sight.
So Bull tells Ming and Illith that as you investigate the house, I will investigate the perimeter to determine where the giants, if they were giants, came and attempted this massacre. And so he'll kind of spread out along the outside to see if he can find any tracks or something that would be
Okay.
consistent with like a direction of entry where they may have come from.
Amnada nods and pats your shoulder. I will accompany you if you'll have me. I could be of some use identifying tracks and finding them and tracking. But should we wait until Ming and Elith have secured, at least gone in to see that nothing lurks or hides in any of these dwellings?
And Bull shakes his head and says, "You make a good point, friend. We will wait."
And at that, Elith takes out his dagger, um, and when you could see that, especially Ming, who seems to know something about daggers, you can see that the shape of it's not an ordinary dagger. It looks like it's been forged with curves and sort of sort of um, just curved in a way that you believe that a dagger like that must be designed to cause pain, like great pain. It may not cause any more damage, but it'd be very painful if it hit you. Um, but he takes out his dagger and he says, I will check out the house." And he starts slipping off towards the house, sneaking towards the house, if you
Okay.
will.
It is early afternoon. I presume anybody who might have been hungry on the way might have grabbed another bite. I mean, you did have a nice breakfast. But time of day, it is 23 ready reet. And it is past lunch, so 1, 2 p.m. Again, shorter days. So the sun is already crested and coming down, but again, pretty gray. Cloud cover is low. The ceiling is low, as is customary in the winter. Ming, will you be going with Elith, or how do you wish to scout? Do you guys want to stealth?
Yeah.
How do you wish to approach this?
Yeah, Ming is going to accompany Elith and stealthing along with them, but
Okay.
giving
I
them the
will say
opportunity to
this.
take the lead.
Okay. I will say this. There are trees planted, deciduous trees, oaks, maples here and there. The farm is very well tended, very neat, very tidy. There are trees on either side of the gate. There's, that would cause there to be wonderful shade. The crushed stone cartway that leads back toward the home is bordered by shrubbery and more trees. There's a yard where you would assume that when the children were children would probably play. So the front half of the where the home and the buildings all are walled in is quite appealing and comfortable, and it's been nicely landscaped with very mature large trees. So there is that hedgerow and then some cover. So if you do wish to stealth, I would certainly entertain a couple of D20 rolls in that regard as you make your way. And the cart path is actually like 2 carts wide and then some. It's very serviceable, sort of what you would expect the entrance to a working farm. And then to the side, there's a narrower, kind of a pleasing turning path that leads to the front and to the side of the home, where one might make entrance. There's an area where you might pull a horse and cart off and park, if you will, in front of the house, or continue on back to the farm buildings. The house itself is probably 50 yards from the road. The building's another 100 yards behind that. So that just gives you kind of a visual. The front of the property is a good, from corner post to corner post, probably a good 300 yards wide, gate set right in the middle. And then the farm itself goes well beyond visual. Again, it's 300-400 acre farm in its entirety, but the front part of it, the campus where the buildings are, is all fenced and walled in, and that's probably no more than 3 acres.
And
So yeah,
Edith
if you
would-
wish to stealth your way,
Yep, that's what Edith is going to do. Use the trees and the cover that's there to make his way towards the main house.
okay.
Yeah, same. I'll follow behind Elith.
Kind of picturing you sneaking along below the hedges. Scar disappears down one of the fence rows toward the back of the property, bounding quickly. Amnata sort of maybe crouches at the gate area near a tree, gets down, sits presumably in prayer as you all make your way, just so he's not kind of standing out plainly in the road. Harvash would do something similar, maybe consulting our map.
I got a 24 on my stealth check.
And I got a 29 on mine.
Okay. Yeah. So you're stealthing. Bull, you almost makes you scratch your head how they went up the lane. They hung to the house side of the hedgerow, so if anything is in the house, they're pressed up against the other side of the hedgerow, and they almost blend into the hedges, the dim shade created by the now leafless, canopy of trees. And somehow they've managed to almost vanish in the near twilight of early afternoon in the winter. And you guys feel confident that you're probably unseen. Bull, what are you doing at this point? You're muted also. There you go. Yeah.
Bull is obviously he's kind of next to Amnata, but Amnata's kind of crouched down, and Bull is more set back. He's not really kind of He's not down on a knee or anything like that, but I mean, clearly he's got enough ability to see what's going on ahead of him, but he is, it's not like he's in particularly trying to hide himself either.
I'm picturing all these guys being stealthy, and then there's Bull standing in the middle of the road.
What's up, guys? More of kind of just almost leaning back on a tree,
Yeah.
at the side, just looking to see what's about to occur, and more scoping the landscape again on the perimeter of the farmhouse, to again thinking about the next step, thinking about how this happened, potentially where the giants came in through, because then that might give them an idea with regards to the next place that they might need to go to be able to find whatever led to this problem.
Very well. You guys make your way up the lane, tree to tree. Shrubbery is only about 3 feet high. There's a break in the hedge on your right that would go. You see more crushed stone, more of a footpath. You see an area with a couple of posts where one might tie a horse. The footpath leads to the front of the home. Maybe 20 feet out in front of the home, you see the charred remains of what Harvash described to be a funeral pyre. Between the pyre and the house, you see a pike driven into the ground, as I mentioned earlier. It looks like there are some items hanging from the pike, whether by like maybe metal chain or leather thong. As you approach the house itself, again, single story, stacked stone and timber, simple porch, simple entrance. The crushed stone also goes around, presumably to a side or rear entrance. The roof is burned off. You could see in what were the windows, and you can see through that the inside of the home is also charred. There are boulders here and there that look to have been thrown into the, maybe one's on the porch. But as you approach, that is kind of what you see before you. Everything's quiet, like still, like if a mouse farted on the back corner of the property, you feel like you'd hear it. It's that quiet.
The pike, is it a pike like Elith might wield, or a pike like a giant might wield?
It's a human-sized soldier's pike.
Pike, okay.
Kind of think like halberd, if you will. It's got a little bit of an axe blade and a pokey tip and a pick on the backside, almost like something a fireman in this day and age might use to, rip open, or maybe in the 1800s might use to rip open the roof of a burning.
Did you say there's something hanging from
It appears to be something hanging from the, the pike itself.
I'm curious if it resembles the weaponry that we've seen Commander Tarnish and her soldiers wielding.
Absolutely. Yep. 100%.
Okay. Should we approach cautiously to investigate?
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see what it is.
Where will you be specifically approaching? I've got the pyre. We got trees in the front yard. We've got the pike. The steps up to the front porch. How close will you get to any of those items?
With the placement of the sun in the sky, are there shadows that are being cast, or is it
amongst the trees? Somewhat. There's not a. You could tell the sun is generally kind of to the west, to the southwest because of the time of year where the sun is. But it's low cloud cover, so it's more ambient light than sun casting shadows. But from the west, there are faint shadows being cast because that is where the ambient light is coming from. But it's not like a bright sunny afternoon that you would have lots of shadows by the trees.
Try to stay in the shadows as best I can. That's where I feel most comfortable, but
Sure.
certainly will approach if I need to go out into the open. But before I step into an open area, I would definitely look around to see if there's any movement or if there's any
roll
sign
perception
of...
for me, Ming. Yeah.
All right.
Bull, if you want to roll occasional perception, I'm assuming you're trying to maybe see what the hell's going on from where you are. Conspicuously located in the middle of the road.
12.
12? okay with perception. Yep. It's very quiet, Ming.
Elith is going to do the same thing and follow Ming.
Roll perception for me, Elith. One thing I will say that's almost overwhelming is the acrid smell of burnt. The smell of charred wood, the kind of the leftover smell of burnt flesh. It's a little bit disturbing knowing what you know about what happened here.
Did Tarnish tell us how long ago the pyre was built?
So they came out about a 10-day ago, inside
Okay.
of a 10-day ago. So it's been maybe a week,
Gotcha.
7-8 days. Yeah.
So I got a 16 on my perception roll.
Yeah. It is quiet. Nothing's moving. In fact, the wind is, now that you think about it, you're trying, all your senses are, again, I want to hear a most fart if it happens. Everything's on high alert, and it is incredibly still, and there's not even wind rattling the bare branches above. Bull, you don't see any movement. They've, for all intents and purposes, vanished off toward the house. Is all you know. They were going toward the house.
Bull rolled a 10, or I rolled a 10 for Bull in terms of his perception of what's
Great.
going on inside the house.
Yep. So far that holds true. You don't see anything.
Okay.
So Ming, you're kind of stepping out. You guys are near the pyre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, closer to the pyre you get, obviously that acrid smell. Ming, you recognize this as being constructed very clearly. This was a nicely, albeit hastily constructed, properly constructed funeral pyre. It's not just some random pile of leftover bonfire. You can see that care was taken to. So what Harvash said about that appears to ring true for sure. The pike, you're probably about 10, 15 feet from the pike. It's closer to the front porch, almost as if an announcement to all who may approach the house. Roll. You see a couple of items hanging from the pike, both on kind of a slender chain. One item is a hammer made of silver. Looks like a finely crafted hammer, not ornate in the least sense, quite plain, but nicely crafted. Roll me religion. To your senses, there may be some significance to this. Both you guys notice this?
17 for Ming.
Oh, I got a 12.
Both of you recognize this from the conversations you've had with both Mayor Hillsplitter, Nandy Hillsplitter, and Harvash Tonwall. This is a holy symbol to Fortubo, the glowing hammer of Fortubo, if you will. Again, the god of stone, metals, mountains, and guardianship. Ming, especially your understanding of the Sul. You recognize maybe some of the rune work on the handle of the hammer, and the hammer is suspended from, it's kind of hanging at an angle. So at the lower end is where the chain greets the bottom of the handle, and in the upper end is where at the center of the head, the maul of the hammer is where the chain is attached, and it's just hanging there. But also with that, you see another item. This is a wooden disc, and carved into it is kind of a curved line, almost like a horizon, with an upturned crescent carved into it. It's hanging by a leather cord. This is much earthier, much more plain. And with your religion rolls, you realize this is a holy symbol of Farlangan.
A memorial of some kind, perhaps.
Indeed.
For what it's worth, the holy symbol to Farlangan is hanging over the holy symbol to Fortubo, but the leather thong is lower. So the holy symbol to Farlangan is actually suspended beneath. The chain for Fortubo's holy symbol is shorter, but the leather symbol has very clearly been hung over the symbol of Fortubo.
with what we know about religion, Ming and I, um, mostly Ming, does it seem strange that these deities would be bundled together in such a manner?
Um,
Dave
it kind
doesn't
of
think.
does.
Okay.
Yeah. Fortubo, to be worshipped by uh, Hill Splitter, the mayor, the
Hmm.
dwarves of this region.
Yeah, they all had like the symbol on
Very
their.
common deity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Harnwall bears that holy symbol upon her, as a pendant, and also it's depicted in her armor and things. Farlangan, the dweller on the horizon, um, is he's an Iridian
Hmm.
deity, um, and the curved line is the represents the horizon. It's known as an orth disk. Usually, he's the patron of those who travel and those who
Hmm.
walk long distances. So, what you know of Farlangan, there would be no connection to these items being hung purposefully together.
But they wouldn't
Your
be
sense, go ahead.
They wouldn't be necessarily incongruous with each other, though. Like they wouldn't
No,
conflict with each other.
the Farlangan holy symbol makes total sense in that someone who worships Farlangan must have passed this way and left this
Yeah.
as a sign of goodness,
Hmm.
um, a sign of peace. I came, not as a contesting of Fortubo's blessing or anything like that.
Yep, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
I'm going to quickly cast Detect Evil and Good
sure.
as we're kind of standing here deciding what to do next.
Could you give me a quick rundown of what that affords you when you cast that spell? And maybe what does it look like when you spell cast Ming? We haven't seen a lot of that yet.
Well, it's this is a verbal and somatic spell component type of thing. So it would be a very whispered prayer to Zanye and some very specific and precise hand gestures that have look as though they are second nature. They've been practiced so many times by Ming. But essentially, what it allows for the next 10 minutes, I will be able to know if there's aberration, celestial, elemental, fey, fiend, or undead within 30 feet as I move about. And
Okay.
this can penetrate most barriers,
Does this
aside
give you
from
any insight into desecration
yes,
or
yep.
blessed?
I know if there's a place or object within 30 feet of me that has been magically consecrated or desecrated.
Okay. So on the aberration, fey, fiend, infernal, nothing.
Okay.
Is infernal included?
Let me bring it back up.
And how many feet?
30 feet. Fey, fiend, elemental, undead, aberration, and celestial.
Okay.
Not
Yeah, nothing.
infernal. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just asking for a friend. Um, so
The,
nothing on that
the
front.
infernal is 31 feet away.
Yeah, 32.6 feet away.
Yeah.
Very faint. Crouch down. Take warning. Yeah. Um, the holy symbol to Fortubo emanates goodness, as does the replica orth disc of Farlangan. These items have been blessed by someone in the clergy
Mhm.
of that deity. And you feel you're like, like something good has been brought here. And in fact, the pyre emanates goodness, as if that were prayed over before being ignited or during the process of
Hmm.
the immolation of the bodies. But you're confident that the site where you stand has been blessed. And I will also draw your attention to the front door. It does look to have been damaged. You could see the door frame, splinters of wood here and there. Fresh hinges have been affixed and painted,
Hmm.
freshly painted on the uh, door itself is a large depiction of a face in the sun. And I'm going to just take the religion rolls that you've already made, given the context we're in. And you see very clearly the the holy symbol of Pelor has been painted on this front door. And it too emanates good divinity.
So repairs is kind of the vibe. There's been some repairs to the door.
Somebody fixed up the front door. Yeah.
There may be new residents, perhaps. And I'll gesture towards the door.
Well, let's see if that's the case.
What's the play here? Should we, if there's someone there, knock on the door and ask if we can borrow some sugar?
No, I think perhaps I can slip inside or look through a window, perhaps.
Brilliant.
With that, Elif will stealth towards the house and see
Roll
if he
stealth for
can't
me.
see if he can't get a look at inside the door. Is the door open at all, or is it closed? It's closed.
Closed,
So
yeah.
but there's a window in the front of the house near
There's
the
a window
door.
on either side of the front door.
So
This is
he'll
the
sneak up.
farmhouseiest farmhouse. You know, window on either side of the door, big, welcoming. You know, the porch looks like broken furniture.
Okay, so he'll sneak up towards one of those windows so they can get a look. So that is wait a minute, I have to math, a 28.
Just barely.
Damn it.
Okay. Yeah, you make your way onto the porch. Good porch. You know, creaks a little bit under your weight because you know you didn't roll stealth for the porch.
I'm gonna take a peek inside through the window and see if I can see anything, any movement, any critters.
You look
giants.
inside and your heart kind of sinks. You know that you see a couple of boulders.
It's the infernal.
You see you know the roof is gone. There are charred timber beams across, you know, that would have been holding a ceiling or so forth. Maybe it was open inside. There's a lot of collapsed burnt wood here and there, broken furniture, boulders strewn about. Back door is off its hinges, assuming it had a door. Just destroyed. Nothing moves, nothing makes a sound. It was a simple home. Some interior walls have been burnt and crushed by boulders. But you can see mostly through and out other windows throughout the house. It looks like there were probably 4 rooms, more toward the back, a kitchen-y looking area and a great roomy area. You know, very simple quarters.
Can the window open?
It is open. There's nothing there.
It is
no
open.
glass. Everything's broken, shattered.
Does the inside, the roof is gone, but does it look safe, stable, or does it look on the verge of collapse?
You know, I mean, if you were to imagine someone walking through there, you'd have to be careful for jagged bits of sharp glass and jagged, you know, splinters of timber that were crushed by boulders. There's a handful of boulders that have made their way into the house by one way or another. You know, some of the stacked stone has been cracked and broken down here and there. But there's really nothing above to collapse down because it looks like the house was probably open to whatever the roof construction was, and all of that has fallen in.
Yeah. So the house itself, when we were approaching it, does it look like it's kind of on a slab, or does it look like there may be a level underneath?
Oh,
like a basement?
You know, it's hard to tell. Yeah, you would guess it's probably a slab. You know, who would go to the point of, you know, digging a basement?
Right.
We're not quite to the rumpus room era of the Flanaess yet.
Well, these people could have been ahead of their time.
That's true. Yeah, real cutting edge. Yeah, no, it looks like it's probably a single story. With the amount, you know, there's a small outbuilding behind the house. Maybe that's like a summer kitchen. Maybe that has a root cellar. You know, something you might expect that way. But yeah, the house itself appears to be a single story. The amount of lumber and timber that's splintered and broken inside would lead you to believe it was probably a kind of a gabled roof. that was open, or maybe had a ceiling / floor for storage, but there's no furniture that's come down, right? The furniture is buried under the debris from above, so it looks like it was a single story home that the roof has completely collapsed and burned and fallen in.
And none of the symbols, the symbol that's on the door, there's no symbol around the window or anything like that. It's just on the door,
No.
I take it.
No, looks like somebody took the time to quickly repair the front door so that it may be closed, and incredibly, bam, is the large, meant to be seen, painted face in the sun, holy symbol of Palor.
So I'm going to motion uh, to Ming like kind of like this,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm going to slip through the window, carefully slip through the window.
Okay, yeah, you could do that.
And I will.
Yeah, I mean,
I will
everything's visible. The glass crunches beneath your booted feet, here and there. You just have to watch where you're walking. It's just a sad deal, you could just tell this was a nice farmhouse and it's been absolutely, utterly destroyed.
I'm going to look around and see what there is to see. I mean, I'm looking to see if there's any I don't know, effects or remnants that
Sure.
the attackers left, something
Yeah.
like that.
Go ahead and roll investigation. Ming, what are you doing? Are you going to enter through the window?
Yeah, I will
In the
actually.
front door?
I was
Ask for
thinking that
sugar?
Ming will replace Illith at the window and watch as he goes in. I don't want to go in right away. I want to post up, and I want to look back to see if I can see Bull and Imnada, just to get visual on all my companions here and Tarnish.
Very good.
I got a 9 on that roll.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot just splintered timber, a lot of heavy timber. Some of it's intact enough you could see where, the carving. I mean, it looks like this place is well built, like brick shithouse, really well built. But it's been charred, burned, crushed by boulders. As you try to move around, it's hard to get around. You take great care you don't slice yourself open on glass or, like from a window, or the splintered edge of a timber. You don't want to trip over a boulder. Yeah, it's a disaster zone. It looks like there was a lot of heat. There's ash in addition to charcoal, and charred timber, various stages of burnt. Yeah. Broken pieces of furniture you can kind of see under things, clothing that, just burnt. There's just not a lot left other than the shell of the more robust building materials.
And nothing in the house, no other.
You don't find any bodies or anything like that.
All right, I'm going to go back out through the window.
Scott, from my position at the window, when I'm looking for Harvash and Bull and Imnada, does my detect evil and good ping anything within 30 feet? It's still active.
Okay, yeah, no, just the
holy symbols.
The holy symbols, the
Gotcha.
3 have all been, not only are there holy symbols, but they've been blessed.
Got it.
Yeah. Your assumption is the Farlangan person wandered up at some point, but the door repair, the Palor, the for Tubo, the blessing on the pyre was all the clergy that accompanied Harvash Tonwall up there.
What are we doing here?
Well, there's nothing inside. Everything's damaged, virtually destroyed. Just a shell of a house, really. I'm not sure what we're looking for.
You rolled a 9, Chris, on your investigation?
Yeah, I did. So it appears that there's nothing here. We could check another one of the buildings, the barn, perhaps.
Perhaps our companions have had more success finding some signs that might lead us to our next destination. But yes, we shall investigate thoroughly. That's, I suppose, why we've come all this way.
Agreed.
Okay, so you're going to make your way back to the farm buildings.
Yeah, Elith
Okay.
is still going to stealth, even though he's pretty sure there's nothing here, but he's still going to do it.
Yeah.
just
Okay.
out of
We use
abundance
the
of
same stealth
caution.
roll that you used while in the house. Once you exit the house and head back to the barnyard, the farmyard area where the buildings are, I'll ask you guys both to make another stealth roll because you'll be exiting the house and into a little bit different environment.
18.
Okay. Yeah. Elith, you make it through the house. You're gonna go like out the back door, or are you just gonna
Yeah.
return out the window
No,
where
I'll
Ming is?
return. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
return out
Yeah.
to go the same
Okay.
way.
Yeah. So go ahead and roll me stealth as you guys head back out to the main lane, and make your way deeper into the property.
I got a 16.
Okay. So you can sneak along the hedge, stopping just to, did I hear something snap? You know, that kind of just being careful. How about perceptions on the way as well as you make your way back
Ooh.
a couple 100 yards off the road back to the farmyard?
27.
I got a 17.
Okay. Very good. It's quiet. Nothing moves, not even a rat. Not that you think there might be rats here, given what you can discern that was probably pretty well maintained farm. Are you investigating or doing any of that along the way?
I mean, yeah, we're here to look for clues or to look for. So I feel like a
Yeah.
heightened sense of, investigation in general.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. If you guys want to roll investigation as you're making your way back, yeah, I'm picturing you just kind of looking, poking around, looking for signs of anything.
10.
I got a 23.
Yeah, Ming, maybe you're just really focused on being careful. Your encounter with the dire trolls has really put you on a path of uh, care, and so your investigation is suffering as a result of that. But Elith, you appear to be on your game today as you make your way back there. You see a couple of things, most notably right along the crushed stone, kind of off the crushed stone. As you're sneaking along the hedges, you see in a couple of places rather large depressions in the soil. Again, we're in farm ground here. And a 23, it looks like a huge, like a humanoid footprint, um, maybe wrapped in leather or cloth, almost indistinct, where you might see toes, not the actual beans of toes, but that general shape. Really big. Like you stop for a minute, you're kind of like, have you ever, like, has Elith ever encountered a giant or anything at all?
That's a great question. I would say that that's probably unlikely, although
Okay.
I'd say it's
So
probably
when you
unlikely.
see this, you kind of stop and you're like, shit. You're tempted to kind of put your own foot in it or near it, but you don't want to touch it. And you're like, and then you think, well, okay, bull, no. You think maybe the dire troll. These are big footprints and they're depressed into the earth. And I don't mean sad. I mean, there's an impression of these and they're kind of random, like on the stone, off the stone. Some are deeper than others. Maybe they're, one of them was running. Um, but yeah, you've found here and there a few alarmingly large footprints. What do you do?
So I'm going to point towards the footprints and I'm going to say, I'm going to whisper, our attackers may well have been giants.
Indeed, all of the evidence suggests that they were. It must have been horrifying for these people. I can see why Harvash is so distraught and the sense of dread upon their conscience. Well, perhaps we can find a trail. Perhaps Bull and Imnada have found some additional sign to guide us.
And Edith will nod at that and then continue his way to the farm buildings.
Okay. Yeah, so you found a few of these really large, kind of a little scary. Kind of get your little heart going, kind of like, holy, yeah. You make your way back. Most of the buildings are destroyed utterly, especially the single-story, low-slung, long animal like the sheep barn. There were probably sheep and fowl, chickens. You can almost smell the distinct smell of chicken droppings. From behind the house, which you are now, you can see the back wall is pretty well caved in. The summer kitchen is mostly leveled. You do see off in the trees to your right as you approach with your 23, as you approach the farmyard, some sort of something on the ground. It's hard to make out what it is. Size wise, it might be 4 feet ish. It's not got a distinct shape. It's kind of dark. Again, the grayness of the day, the fact that we're past high sun on this winter gray dreary day off in the trees. Hard to see for sure what it is. As you get closer to this area, you can also smell the distinct smell of charred wood and burnt horse flesh. You've probably all smelled that before. That pile that's off in one corner of the farmyard where Harvash said they burnt the animals. There were no surviving animals, by the way.
As we examine these buildings, I'm going to continue to look around for anything that might be a clue, other footprints, other.
Yeah, go ahead and roll another.
That...
Both you guys roll another investigation as you get in this area. Again, you do have that whatever's on the ground in the trees, kind of off to the right before you get into the barnyard proper area that's open and crushed stone.
6.
I got a 27.
Nice. Yeah, Ming, perhaps you're a little overwhelmed with the weight of the meaning of what you're seeing, the death, the you're maybe starting to visualize the scene when this unfolded and the poor unfortunate souls who were lost, and goodness knows the animals, how they were, killed for sport or
Yeah, the horrifying nature of what happened here
Yeah.
is not lost on him whatsoever.
Yeah.
He's definitely contemplating what those moments must have been like for these people who are not warriors. They are herdsmen and farmers and ranchers.
Yeah, I would say also you find here and there, which is curious, some booted footprints. Maybe even like small humanoid or less than medium-sized humanoid boots. Raggedy looking boots, not like what you would expect from soldiers, organized militia type boots. And you do find some of those footprints, but not many. Mostly around the area where the fire, the pile of animals would have been disposed of. And you see like drag marks from people dragging like a horse carcass or dead animals over there. But by and large, Harvesh did a nice job of keeping this place from being trampled to death by her team of people when they came up here to see what happened. And most of their footprints are up front, where the pyre is and all that.
So these small footprints are different than the gnomish footprints, I would think, or the footprints of our troops. Yeah. So I'll point those out as well and whisper.
Yep. And even Ming sees those. They're here and there in the soft earth and the ash. You do find a couple interesting things. Again, you saw that something on the ground over in the trees. You also find a rough-looking little jagged dagger on the ground. Not a nice blade, jagged, edgy, dull in places. Like you were describing the pain that your blade might inflict, while this one is certainly much less nicely made, would probably actually inflict more pain because the edge is bad and it's notched and jagged and it's like this would probably bring entrails out with it if you stab somebody and grab some stuff and pull it out. It's a bummer.
Is it bloody?
Oh yeah, there are
Dried
signs
blood.
of blood, large amounts of blood here and there in the barnyard. So much so that you assume it has to be from livestock, horse and sheep. Here and there splattered and splashed. Um, yeah,
I'm gonna pick the dagger up.
okay. It's a rough looking, jagged dagger. Um, Seems
Nope.
out of place here.
Yeah.
Like it's probably not of here. It was probably dropped in the chaos.
Nothing written on it or runes or anything like that. Just a straight.
No, it's
Yeah.
a really piece of crap, hastily made. Like the palm, the blade you could tell was like a one piece forged, and then there was a couple of roughly carved, pieces of wood somehow fastened around on either side of it, sandwiched over the metal, and then like wrapped with rough leather. Crudely fashioned, albeit effective in the right hands. Dagger.
And again, the dagger would be dagger size to me. It's
Sure.
not. It's not. It's. I don't hold it and think, wow, what a large dagger.
Correct. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is not a
Okay.
giant sized weapon at
Yeah.
all.
Okay.
It's not even like it would seem like a waste of time for Bull to wield it. Like he might as well be, attacking you with a broken pencil.
Yeah. So
Because it's small for him even.
I'll show it to Ming and say, it appears the giants had friends, smaller friends, goblins perhaps.
Does it look like a goblin blade?
It certainly could be goblin kind, orc kind.
Mm,
Certainly, as soon as Elith says that, you're like, yep,
yeah,
boy, oh boy, here we
yeah.
go. The booted feet, the kind of the chaotic movements. Again, they're boulders here and there. As you look in the crushed and collapsed buildings, you see boulders in there. You see boulders where there's like a bunch of blood, like maybe one happened to land on an animal or, purposefully hit an animal. But it just, as you guys could almost close your eyes and start to get these little flash bursts of visuals of what happened, you're starting to picture a probably a decent number of some kind of really big things throwing hefty boulders with some group of smaller things with blades, um, wreaking havoc through here.
And as I'm holding the dagger after I say that, I'm going to say that they not only came here to kill, they came here to inflict terror and torture.
But why would they seek to do so in such a benign location? Is this have some strategic purpose, do you think?
I don't see any.
Hmm.
A message, perhaps?
Or just bloodlust? I have known
Seems.
goblins to kill simply for the sake of the joy of death. It is
This,
unfortunate that this family was put in their way.
this seems more organized than just bloodlust to me.
Hmm. Indeed, the fact that goblins and giants would be forging some alliance suggests some additional motivation that could be quite meaningful for the people of this valley.
And a leader capable of forming such an alliance.
Indeed.
With that, Elith is going to continue towards the. I guess we already did. We searched the barn areas. I guess.
Yeah, no sign of any surviving animals.
What about that outbuilding behind the house? Maybe we should take a look at that. Probably a kitchen of some kind, but perhaps there's something there.
Yes.
So Elith will begin stealthing towards
Sure.
the outhouse.
Yeah. There's you didn't see because of the trees, but there is actually an outhouse back there that's been knocked over. The privy. It's a 3-holer.
Nice.
The privy seats are laid bare. The structure that was damaged behind the house is indeed what looks to be a summer kitchen, and there is the doors are crushed and broken, and a darkness in the ground that belies a some sort of an opening in the ground.
Well, there is an opening in the ground.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is your spell still up?
Has it been more than 10 minutes at this point?
I'd say it probably has, given what you're trying to see and discern, and covering some. Again, the farm buildings are more, probably about 200 yards from the road, so 150 yards, give or take, from the house. Stealthing slowly, yeah, I'd say.
How big of a hole are we talking about?
You know, it's a rectangular hole. There's lumber broken around it that looks like it might have been covered by doors,
So maybe a cellar.
something of that nature. It's tough to tell from how far away you are. You should get closer to it.
Yeah, we will.
It's
That's what
totally
I'm thinking.
safe.
Yeah,
Give you my word as dungeon master.
that's all I need to know. I'm gonna
Yeah.
walk stealth right up to it and try to peer inside it in the darkness and see if there's anything to be seen.
Me too, but I'm going to be ready to drag his corpse with me.
Back. Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so you
that.
carefully peer, and there are earthen packed steps leading down into, it doesn't look any more than like if you were standing on the floor down there.
Mhm.
The earth level is maybe 15 feet, and it goes down into a pretty good sized area of a cellar. And you could see broken everything down here, crockery. Looks like vegetables and fruits that have been put back, salted meats, things of that nature. So yes, a root cellar of some sort has been laid open. The doors are smashed, broken. Absolutely.
But it looks like they left that sort of stuff, the meat and the.
Yeah. You can't be for certain if anything was taken from here because it's just
Right.
been sacked. But, like there's still things, crockery sitting on a couple of the shelves, and there's still, like there's down in one end of it, there's a couple timbers strung across where you'd hang like salted meat. There's still a couple of, you could see like the carcass of a sheep or something hanging there dry. Um, so it's definitely been ransacked. But whatever was here did not take everything.
It's strange that they didn't take all the provisions.
I agree. As if perhaps they were in a hurry to depart.
Well, perhaps it's best to gather with the others, see if they've had any more luck.
Well, if you recall, I'm not a Wizard, and Bull were waiting to make sure the coast was clear based on your investigation before they start running the fence line for any signs of anything.
Yeah, we could probably give them the signal.
Yeah,
What is the signal?
it's jumping up and saying everything's clear.
Okay, Bull,
No,
you
it's-
hear from
It's not
from behind the house the dusky tenor of Elith. What is
I'm gonna prepare to
Elith
drag
von
Ela's
Haraeus
corpse away.
say everything's clear.
everything's clear.
So Bull at this point has just been waiting patiently.
Yeah, you hear snoring, and I'm not as like
that's
against
right.
one of the trees.
So I take my lawn sword and poke him in the side. Just
What
Did
is
you say
it?
that's
through the
one,
side?
Brigands, foes.
right, 1 hit point of damage.
Yeah, nice. Somebody tell Carl. Yeah.
That's right. A half a hit point of damage. That's right. And Bull, has been kind of again observing the scene, and he thinks that probably circling back around the edge perimeter makes sense. Probably going from north to south along the wall that he's on right now, and
Okay.
then basically just making a perimeter. How big, a perimeter is it, do you think? In terms
So it's probably a good 300 yards of road frontage.
Yep.
and then probably a good 500 yards back as far
Okay.
as what looks to be officially stone-walled in, which is, the campus where all the buildings are and the yards and some of the broken. You could see fencing. The guys saw fencing of broken down paddocks and pens for horses. Beyond all that is farmland.
Okay. And how far away can he see Illith or no?
Once they've yelled, and you could see, like, as you're standing there watching on occasion, like once they got back to the farm buildings, you could see them walking back and forth across the open farmyard. You can even see the back gate area, and you see the unmistakably magnificent form of Scar seated with his back to the homestead, looking out over the farmland, um, keeping watch as Harvash said he would. So you can make your way down the fence row.
Yeah. How far
Yep.
away is Illith from?
He's behind the house, so he's probably 50, 60 yards off the road. So as you make your way down that one fence, you could look to your left and see Illith and Ming looking down into the root cellar.
Sure.
And they're
So,
probably,
okay.
but they're probably a good 100
Yeah.
yards inside the fence from you. Because again, this is like a 300-yard along the road, 500 yards back, and 300 yards square of this stone wall.
Okay.
And then the rest is various fenced pastures and farm ground and all of that. Beyond all that, several hundred acres.
All right. So he starts making his way down the fence line, trying to see kind of where the potential entry site may have been from this whole, whatever did the damage. He doesn't know yet that there's small and big people or small and big creatures that were part of it because he hasn't gotten that information yet, but he'll
Sure.
work his way
Yeah,
down.
you want to roll if you're going to look around, investigation or perception as you're making your way, since I know you guys are kind of reconnoitering. You feel confident that the coast is clear, as they say. So maybe you're focused a little more on the investigation part. So go ahead and give me a roll.
12.
12. Yeah, so you spot a couple of big ass giant prints along the fence. You even see one like over the fence. Here and there's a couple of places as you make your way back. Are you going like you're going to work your way all around the property?
Yeah, I mean, in a circumference. And so the idea was that could we see which direction that this kind of traffic of whatever did this came from?
Sure. Yeah. You do find, interestingly enough, a pile of boulders behind, like at the back gate area. Maybe 6 or 8 of them that were, I guess, unused. They didn't need them, which is interesting. Scar is seated back there. You do see that he has something in front of him, and it appears to be the corpse of an orc that he has. It was either there or he drug it there from somewhere. He's not saying. Laying there.
Okay. And is he by himself? Meaning like the animals it's not being ridden at this point.
No, Harvash stayed up front with you guys, and she's dispatched the wolf to watch the back while she stayed to watch the front. Yeah.
Right.
And she has not moved from that post. Like you and Illith have started your investigation. So the 4 of you are fully engaged in investigating. And she has remained at the front gate, keeping watch. Scar is at the back gate, and he does have a prone and deceased orc body at his feet. As if to say, look what I got.
Yeah. How far away is now Harvath from Bull?
Harvash is back up front. So if you're at the back wall, about 500 yards.
Okay. All right. Bull will kind of come up to the orc that's mutilated and whatnot, and he'll kind of once over it to see whether or not if there's any kind of anything that's on the body that might give some idea where it came from.
Sure. Yeah. So this is like your run of the mill standard kind of orc booted, has a nasty looking dagger at its hip. Other than that, it's got like hides and bits of dried leather for armor that would probably give it an armor class of studded leather. Um, and it
Does it,
looks like it's equipped for like travel. Like it has nothing extra on it. The only weapon you see is a dagger, and it looks like it's been crushed,
okay,
like
that's
severe blunt force trauma to the entire body. The wolf did not kill it. That's evident. In fact, you don't even see teeth marks on it. So
Okay.
either this wolf has a soft maw when needed, or the orc was, laying there.
So it was clear that, and it wasn't like a weapon killed it.
Correct. It's been bludgeoned by something large.
All right. Okay, so he takes note of that and he keeps going around the property to see if there's a series of boulders that's untouched, you said.
Yeah, it looks like they're not neatly stacked or anything, but they're very clearly kind of in a pile there.
Yeah, so he'll go over and look around the boulders, see if there's anything there that might be um that maybe that someone dropped
Sure.
while over there.
Yeah. Roll investigation.
19.
19. Yeah. Right beside the boulders, right beside because there's, crushed stone cart path that leads out the back gate. This is the access out to the farm ground, farm fields, and beyond. You see the unmistakable marks of a wheel, a wooden wheel of a cart that was apparently parked here. Maybe that's how the boulders got here. And it goes never inside the gate as you look around. And it goes off to the southeast, away from the farm toward the mountains. Again, if you remember, the farm is oriented where the front faces the northwest toward Headwater and the back faces the southeast into the Jotuns. And this cart track is beside the crushed stone, roadway for a time and kind of disappears, but it looks like it's away from, like it came from and back, gone again. You can almost see like two, the coming and the going of
Right.
this cartwheel, cart track, I should say. No gymnastics.
So Bull takes notice of that,
A
and
couple
then
of big ass footprints, some smaller humanoid booted footprints here and there. They go in the gate. Yeah.
takes note of it, and then keeps working around back to where he started. So going in and
Okay.
takes.
So you guys see Bull, not tough to spot here, among the trees, and all the way to the back. Scar follows you, and you guys come back to the front.
Okay.
Illith and Ming, what do you guys do as you see Bull making his way back up to the front?
Ming will clock their approach and take one kind of last look around to see if anything is responding to Bull.
Okay, perception, investigation, whichever you prefer. Again, I know you guys are on like hyper alert mode, super careful.
Natural 1 for a total of 9.
Yeah. I mean, all things seem to be. Your investigation rolls have been ass, by the way.
Yes, that
Not
die
that you
is
needed me to
gone.
tell you
I
that.
just put a hole in the drywall, but that's okay.
Nice. See a die. Made its own dice jail down inside the wall cavity. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, man, looks like nothing's going on. Wow.
I'll step out and start to approach Bull.
Yeah. Okay. Elith, sorry.
I'll do the same. I see him getting up and approaching Bull. I'll just do the same.
Okay. Very good. So all of you kind of reconnoiter back at the main gate to share your findings. Harvash calls to Scar, who comes back. Did you bring the orc with you, Bull?
The actual body, no.
Yeah.
I left the body there, but I'm kind of looked it over enough that I'll describe what I actually saw.
Okay. So all of you are there at the gate, the front gate, including the wolf. Harvash is speaking to the wolf. If anybody speaks Gnomish, she's thanking and commending the wolf for a job well done, and just the usual. There's almost an affectionate tone, which is a little like off-putting, given her martial, cold, firm demeanor, steely gaze. This gal's seen it. So what do you guys do?
Well, it seems like there's no reason for us to stay here.
Bull says, I have some findings. One, the animal has found an orc dead in the region of the back of the fence, southeast.
Harvash's head kind of snaps around. An orc. An orc. And it's dead. By what means?
It appears blunt, trauma, large force, no weapons used, no, and clearly not injured by the animal.
Oh. I mean, these were farmers. Maybe a bow and arrow, or I can't even imagine their skill with a blade, but large, blunt. What of you two? The buildings, what did you find in there? We hopefully didn't make much of a mess of things.
The mess was made before you arrived, sadly. But we didn't find much of note.
Found this dagger on the ground, and he'll hold it up.
And the footprints that would, I guess, indicate that giants indeed were here. And would you say many smaller
Footprints.
ones?
Many smaller ones.
Many. She looks at Bull. So you think giants and orcs in some number?
Indeed.
She grabs the dagger, not unkindly or anything, just kind of very businesslike, purposefully, firmly grabs the dagger from whoever had it. Bull, you recognize that this is a similar blade, similar weapon to what was on the orc.
And
You're sure about giant footprints? Is that the only thing that tells? Well, boulders, I suppose.
Do you find that these orcs, perhaps goblins and giants, forming an alliance just outside of Headwater, so close to the civilized peoples? Is this something that is new to the region? Have you heard of this type of alliance?
This is most disturbing. We need to make haste to the outpost.
And this weapon, this dagger that I found on the ground, it is...
It's a shit orc blade.
But it's designed to cause great pain.
Yes.
I think. So
Orcs are strong.
I believe this was a message.
They love to inflict pain and burn and destroy. And these giants, I wonder what the purpose. You say a message. That would be stupid, tactically foolhardy. Hello, we're here. We're going to burn things. Why would you do such a thing this close to an outpost
Well, I
of
think
skilled soldiers, fierce warriors?
perhaps the message isn't meant towards them. Perhaps it's meant for Headwater.
Well, but that's our outpost. Well, that is Headwater, by all regard. We should make haste. What else? Anything else? Anything of value? Did you find any signs of... I don't know. This place is so disturbing. Thankfully, we had the clergy to bless things.
There was another symbol, another priest, I believe, stopped by after perhaps you all left. Phalanges, a follower of Phalanges.
Farlagen,
Farlagen. Swedish, I believe.
the god of horizons.
Yes.
God
the
of
one.
Swedish
You know the
meatballs.
one. The one with lots of consonants in the name.
She
His
kind of
brother,
cocks her head and...
his brother IKEA. Yes.
Sewell?
IKEA.
A Sewell deity? Another Sewell deity like Fortubo? Not familiar with whatever you called that. Didn't desecrate our sign of Fortubo's blessing, did it?
I don't.
No, it was a complimentary gesture of goodwill.
Oh, we should not touch it then.
We should let it.
Who knows who wanders
persist.
these hills and mountains, but this is most disturbing. Nandy Hillsplitter did well dispatching you here, but I'm most concerned for what is happening at the outpost. Perhaps they know more. Perhaps they've had some success in tracking or finding, killing even. But why would we not have heard from them?
Well, I think the only way to answer that question is to proceed to the outpost. So I agree with you. That should be our next stop.
Bull also mentions there is a path heading towards the southeast. It's clear the giants likely came from that direction, as the path is well worn and is clear that there are boulders that potentially were brought for the destruction that has occurred. What's the
so planned and organized with some manner of tactic? These poor folks had no chance. My only prayer, and she kind of clutches her holy symbol, her hammer, is that they died quickly.
Bull turns to Horvash and asks, in which direction is the outpost?
It's further up the road. The road at this juncture is across, like the farm faces northwest and the road crosses across the face of the farm.
Okay.
But generally you've been going in the southeast, in the direction, like this whole place that you're in is southeast of Headwater. And so the cart would be making a direction directly away from Headwater.
And as we
back
go
into the mountains.
And as we go towards the fort, that is in the same direction as the
generally cart? Yeah. The road will wind around to the southeast again.
Okay.
When we get out of this valley, she says.
Perhaps
they've captured this very crew who did this. But why would we not have heard?
I believe when we approach the fort, we should take precautions like we have taken here.
Agreed.
Of course. The fort sits on a very high promontory of rock. It is surrounded by palisade, wood, towers. It affords a wonderful view down into the foothills and up into the mountains. But anyone in the fort would easily see anyone on the road below.
Do you have a
the road
means
does approach up the promontory, and so once we get to the part of the road that ascends, it ascends rather steeply, and we would be unseen until we crested the top of the promontory. It has to be at least 60 feet above the road where the fort sits.
Do you have a means, Commander, of communicating with those stationed within prior to our arrival, whether that be through some...
I could send Scar ahead. That would be my best play. And he would be more than happy to do so.
If we approach by night, I would be able to take a reconnaissance flight.
She kind of tilts her head.
To get us a better view of what lies ahead. There is no assumption at this point that the fort has fallen into some ill status. However, as Elif points out, it is best to be careful and take caution. Giants and orcs
carefully,
and goblinkin together does not bode well.
Considering your words, as if some of them never entered her mind, that, like, when you say the possibility that the fort has, befallen some ill fate, she just, like, I never thought of that, and when you first mentioned take flight, she kind of cocks her head at you, and then you see her recall what all happened in the chaos of the battle with the dire trolls that you somehow began to fly and turned into a bat. And she's like, I was meaning to discuss that with you. Marvelous. Perhaps I don't wish to know, but marvelous nonetheless. Yes, that would be, and approaching at night would give us the advantage of cover.
Just to be cautious, Commander.
Yes, of course. No, of course. Strange things have been happening. This is not, you ask about alliances between giants. We've not even seen giants in my lifetime. And in 3 lifetimes.
Well, Commander,
I
I
know
believe it
Bull
will not
speaks
be
of-
long before we do see them. Up close and personal.
Bull speaks of giants, but that is far off in the crystal mists. Here it's been quiet and peaceful for ever. We need to make haste, time our arrival with darkness, see what is the situation, and then I need to return to Headwater as quickly as I may with whatever word I need to bring and alert. Take counsel. Need to send word. She kind of pulls at her top knot. We may need to send word to Mittelberg or Stiven, the capital. We should go. Is there anything else here?
Sadly, I think not.
Give me just one moment. Wish to pray. And she stomps off into the yard of the home and to the pyre, and you see her on the porch. You see her kind of touch the pike and kneel on the porch quietly for just a few moments. And she returns, her eyes red, her face red. We should go. Is there anything else anyone needs to do before we set off?
Do we know the race of these farmers? Did they tell us that? I don't remember.
They're half elven.
They were half elves. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. The mother was a human. The father was half elven, and the children then were half elven. Fine family. Always welcome in Headwater.
Let's head off towards the outpost and see what we find.
We will time our arrival with darkness. It'll be one more night on the road sleeping, and then we'll time our arrival tomorrow evening at dusk, so that we will not be seen approaching. All right. So you gather your things. You've investigated now 2 things, starting to form some opinions. All right. I think that's a good spot to hit the old pause button, man. That was 3 hours and 15 minutes that just like crackled right by.
Yeah,
That's great.
sure did.
And nobody got
Crime
knocked
scene
down to 12 hit points.
investigation.
Yeah. Little CSI.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's go around the horn, and you guys want to do any outros? Anything you want to say? We'll start with old Bull Mall with Doc Shoulder.
Thanks, Scott. Great working our way through this, so appreciate you. I am Doc Shoulder. I'm happy to be here, play here in this game, and then hopefully gonna start something up with Dave soon, and then on his channel or on his Discord, and then still having a chance to play with Phantom on Friday nights. So
Yeah, that Shadow Darker is intriguing. That's the system, Arcane Library.
Mm-hmm.
I can never remember her name. She's an awesome gal.
Kelsey Dion.
Kelsey
yeah.
Dion. Yeah. I got to meet her at GaryCon. She was there pitching Shadow Dark. And I've got a couple of her adventures, and she's a really, really, really creative creator.
Super creative.
Yeah, great gal. I'm intrigued. I want to hear more about your Shadow Darkness thing.
and maybe we can do a little like GaryCon.
I'm planning on running some there,
Oh,
for sure.
really?
Yeah.
Can I play? Can I be allowed? I won't
It's
fart at the
gonna be
table this time.
fun.
Yeah.
That's what you said
All
last
right,
time.
I'm not going to promise that. Okay, DM Dave, man, Guild Superior dude.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Dave. You can find me over at the Guild Superior Twitch channel. Come on over and give us a follow and hang out. I run a Tuesday night ongoing Greyhawk campaign. Our team of adventurers have just thwarted the plot of the Dark Druids to raise the fiend Anthraxis and aid Zugatmoy in her escape attempt from the Temple of Elemental Evil. It was fantastic, and now they're picking up the pieces after all of that. Because
Sounds
as
really
the way
good.
I run games is even when there's a success, there's a lot of tragedy that happens as a
failures.
result.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other thing that we have going on is a bunch of stuff coming up in 2024. And then tonight we're having our session 0 for our Shadow Dark West Marches game over in our Discord. So if
So West
folks are
Marches?
yeah, so if folks are interested in getting involved with that, hop on over to the Guild Superior Discord channel and get plugged in there. We'll have probably more than one session 0 as more people will become interested. We'll do a couple of them. But our plan is to have our very first adventure next Sunday, so a week from today.
Nice.
So yeah,
That
it's gonna
sounds
be fun.
exciting. I'm gonna be checking that out, man.
Yeah, please do come
I
on over and
sleep
play,
through
man.
all the good things, man. I want to check that out. I'm
Yeah, do
stoked.
it.
All right, Chris, last and nowhere near least.
Hey, everybody. Chris WikiVA on Discord and Twitch. I have nothing interesting going on to tell you. I wish I did. I have no channels, no nothing. But I will say this: the first secrets of the Flanaess we did, I thought we really had a good thing going, and we sure did. And it looks like this is also a really good thing. I'm super excited and honored to be playing with you guys. Thanks for having me at your table. It's been great.
Love
It's
to
a
have you.
joy.
And we miss
Joy.
Carl today. Carl Carnage plays I'm Not a Wizard. We dropped his little details there in chat, so hopefully he'll be able to join us. I think just like family reality stole him away today, so we'll be glad to have him back. But what a fun day, man! I really enjoy slinging dice with you guys. And thank you so much to Trollard Games for the raid. And for folks, we picked up a few followers as a result of that. Love that about our Greyhawk community. And in fact, speaking of raids, we're gonna go raid GaryCon Live. They're playing D&D right now. I have no idea what they're playing, but we're gonna take our mighty force of people and we're gonna go raid them. We'll be back with this game sometime in January, probably later in the month. With any luck, we still have another game that Chris and Carl and I got started that we'd really love to get back into because I think it was kind of fun. So maybe we can resurrect that from the ashes. I think what do we do? 2 sessions of that?
We had three.
Three
Yeah, I think
sessions.
so.
Yeah, that's set away down in the south near the vast swamp, the southern reaches of Alyssa. Also in Greyhawk. So hopefully we can get back to that. And yeah, so don't go away. I'm going to hit the magic raid button. We'll go hang out with GaryCon Live, and we'll see you all here soon again. Again, I'm Wiley Hobbit. Thanks for hanging out with us today. It
See you
was
next
like
time.
mucho funno. I'm going to hit the start raid button. And okay, it looks like it's calculating. Very nice. Little time warp action about to happen. All right, here we go. We're going to raid.